attention and we get full of ourselves. Yeah. Come on. I just wanna come clean the way I'm thinking about you when I'm with my team. Got me questioning. I'm with them. Miss the way you say my name, you mention it. I miss it. Playing back and forth like who you messing with. Can't wait to get up first and spend a second with. You trying to paint a picture, I'm expressionless. Hoping that a lesson in. I'm tired of confessing it. Tired of the negligence.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mad Track Talk. It's your boy Lucifer the God. How's everyone doing? How are you doing?
I'm
Right
doing
across
great.
from me, we got That's Cool.
I'm here.
How
It's
you
your boy
doing, man?
Noreik Thascool.
Noreik Thascool.
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
You're always feeling good, though.
Always.
Always.
You have to.
You always have this this positive vibe going on
I appreciate that.
throughout the whole. That's kind of why I brought out like the RZA, because in his rhymes and like a lot of his music, from watching like the Wu-Tang documentary and stuff, and like and then doing research because of that.
Yeah.
It's like he just writes his rhymes. It's almost like there's like a higher power meaning to it. Like,
Well, there is.
yeah,
It's not even like a almost like. Like
yeah,
there
it's
is.
just like he just has this way of saying it and
Yeah.
in such a simple way, but it comes out just right
Yeah. Yeah.
every time.
Yep. It's some people, when you tap into positivity, when you tap into self, when you tap into God, really, it's the source. You get spoken through. You're not even speaking all the time. So like some things you'll say and you'll be like, I don't even remember saying that. And it's not from like a possession type of thing. It's just that your spirit is talking, and I try to lead, like when you lead with love, like your spirit talks more than your ego does or that your mind does.
Yeah,
You may
yeah.
be thinking about these things, but what you actually put out into the universe is very important.
Yeah.
And I've always just told myself, like, I'm going to bring positivity to it. That's why I even started rapping. There was so much negativity that I was hearing on the radio
Yeah.
when I was younger that I was like, why can't we just talk about good things? Why can't
Yeah.
we talk about ways that people can improve themselves? Why can't we talk about how to pursue your passions and how to grow?
Yeah.
And upon digging deeper, I realized that a lot of that music existed, a lot of that rap existed, especially. It just didn't get promoted like that. And then that's when I got introduced to the game of how, the
Yeah.
industry wants to.
Yeah, they want to promote this one aspect of a lifestyle
Yeah.
throughout the whole course so that people buy into it.
Exactly. And that just further, deteriorates the culture, further deteriorates communities,
Mhm.
So I'm staunchly on the other side of like, yo, I'm trying to promote positivity, anything positive that we can do. And it's not in a way that makes it so I'm naive to the ills of the world. We
Yeah.
understand that. But
You still talk about those even
Yeah.
in all your tracks.
For
It's
sure.
like you present like the two sides. It's like, oh yeah, like, oh, everything needs to be positive. Let's do this. We know we have these problems, but we can do this together and get through it.
Absolutely.
And almost I would say all the tracks that I mean, even when we recorded that one session where we
Yeah.
went for like 5 hours, there's even
Yeah.
that like, going down, but we're gonna come back up.
Yep.
That energy is there.
Yeah. Yeah. We always have to end positively.
Yeah.
We always have to bring it back. It's okay to go through the trials but we have to go through them. We have to grow. We have to become better. That's the point.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of these artists, they'll just talk about the bad things, but they won't talk about how to improve it. They
Yeah.
won't talk about what they went through to get through it
Yep.
or to get better on the other side. And like, that's always been like weird to me.
It is interesting that like it always gets skewed to that one side where all the pop and music that's on your top charts is about like anything that's related to the game, the hustle, anything, trapping, whatever it is. I think we talked about this previously on an episode with The Thought that just came out. Is that like there's a lot of that
Shout out The
music.
Thought.
Yeah, shout out The Thought.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's apparently he's dropping a new track pretty soon. I saw the album card.
I don't doubt it. This
cover.
guy is always
Dude,
coming out with music, man.
I would say like every week I'm like, oh, new track. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We're gonna get something new.
Yes, for sure. Shout out The Thought.
Yes.
Shout out Pomona.
Yes.
You have great artists coming out of there. So,
Yes.
and he has a great team.
Along with positivity, the people that like are surrounded in this area, just like the energy constantly.
That's that Inland Empire energy, and a lot of people, they say that Pomona is part of LA County, and Pomona, where I'm from, is like it's divided. You have people who want to live like a gang type of lifestyle, and they want to make music that caters to that. And then you have all these artsy, people that are trying to promote, positivity and trying to promote betterment of self. And it's kind of mingled in Pomona. And because Pomona is the middle of where LA and where the IE
Yeah.
is, it's just a really interesting dynamic. I don't know if it can ever be unified, but it's just so interesting how some people from Pomona associate themselves with the IE, and some people from Pomona associate themselves with LA.
Yeah.
And you kind of pick a side based on your content.
Yeah, I think also the content too is like some people know that if they go towards that like trap game rap style,
Hmm.
that it's gonna get more
Traction.
just more traction because
Yeah.
they it's almost we talked to a guy recently. He's like, I'm doing this because I know the trap game is like almost like legal because they'll promote it for you as a label.
That's an interesting perspective for
You
sure.
know, I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's kind of, but he's right. I mean, they'll
Yeah.
promote that all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. I have.
Um, when you like through the years, like how has it changed for you? Like,
It's changed a lot. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. When I started, um, people like when I started, Lil Wayne was on his run, tear, best rapper alive.
so we got Lil Wayne right here.
Exactly.
I knew all you guys. Like you guys came up during that Lil Wayne. He
Yes.
inspired so many people
Yes, he did.
to go,
He
you know,
did.
and do it.
He
So
did.
it's like,
I mean, he still says things that still like no one's ever thought about.
yeah, yeah.
And it was incredible what he was doing at that time. But it was turning into the blog era. The internet was popping. I started when I was in junior high. I mean, not junior high, sorry. Junior year of high school and senior year of high school. And that was like when Wiz was getting big, and when Big Sean just came out with his was it Big Sean was the mixtape, and it was basically the resurgence of the mixtape era.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
mixtape
Because
era,
SoundCloud too was like popping then too at that time.
I mean, if you were on SoundCloud, then that was like you were ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
I
because it was
was
the popping thing. Like, dude, are you on
yeah.
SoundCloud or
Yeah.
not?
SoundCloud, Bandcamp,
Bandcamp, yeah.
those were going on because streams didn't hit as yet.
Mhm.
People were still making physical CDs, people were selling physical CDs, but you can get things on the internet. So any artist who tapped into the internet early, you really got to get ahead of the game in creating a fan base for yourself, and showing what we were seeing was the end of the mystery of the artist. So
Yeah, so
prior to
you're
that,
sharing all that.
exactly. Prior to that, all of these artists were just icons like Dr. Dre and RZA. Like you didn't know what they did on a day-to-day basis. You just knew that they were awesome and they were
yeah. And
amazing.
they just
and
do crazy stuff with
yeah,
music. You're like,
and
okay.
Kanye was going crazy at
Yeah.
that time. So it was just like, wow. And what was happening is you had people like Wiz, people like B.O.B., people like Big Sean, who were inviting people into their day-to-day lives. Mac Miller, rest in peace, who were inviting people into their day-to-day lives and showing the internet like this is what we do on top of rapping. And they created this lifestyle. Currency, one of the best
Yep.
to do that. And it just made it so cool. And I was like, when I started, I was at the end of the mystery phase. So when I started, I was like, oh, I'm trying to be this big artist
Yeah, yeah.
and sell out arenas, and I'm gonna have all this and I'm gonna do all that. And I didn't realize that we were quickly getting away from that, where it was like, no, we need to just take video of me riding down the street spitting a freestyle, and like that would get more traction than me trying to paint this
The whole
whole,
picture.
yeah, this super cool picture and needing lawyer help and label help and all of these different
Yeah.
things. And it was like the end of artist development because artists started developing themselves,
Yep.
right in front of you.
Definitely.
And audiences like to see that. They were like, I need to be a part of this artist's growth for better or for worse, because there were trash music that was coming out around that time.
Yeah, there was definitely
Super trash.
You're like, how's this a hit? Right
Yeah,
now?
it was like from 2006 to like 2010, there was a lot of garbage music that was coming out. But that 2009 to 2011 was where the good music was a secret.
Yeah.
And it started blossoming by like 2012, where all of these artists started making it big, and they were touring, and they were taking videos of them touring, and they were making their own music videos, and all these new directors, new music video directors, new producers, everybody was hitting the scene. And it wasn't just like Timbaland and Just Blaze
Yeah.
and all these super producers,
Yeah.
Scott Storch and
Yeah, yeah.
Dre. It was like Mike Will made it,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was like,
The smaller names were starting to get that, and that's when the whole tag thing started
yeah,
too. Is when everybody started throwing a tag in the
yep,
beginning, and then all of a sudden that started as the tag
yep.
was a trend.
And then trap music came out from that, because of the hustle. And it was people that were advocating a gang lifestyle without necessarily being affiliated,
Hmm.
and when weed was really popping at that time, a lot of people started smoking weed around
Yeah,
2009 because of Wiz and because, we started seeing it on YouTube
yeah.
videos and things like that. Um, People started selling drugs. They were just it was also the party scene. You had raves, like people were selling pills, people were doing all
Hmm.
of these different things.
The big shows started. The concerts
Oh
started getting
yeah,
more
and the
and more and more.
festivals started getting crazy. Like it was a real underground resurgence of the underground at that time. And when I first started out, I started with another partner who rapped with me, and a producer, and we were just like making stuff out of the closet, like doing what we can.
Gotcha.
It was always positive because that's just who I am as a
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
Like I was trying to do that. We had kind of like a duality type of thing where like he would talk about more of like the real stuff and I would talk about more of like the optimistic
yeah, yeah,
things, and
yeah.
we kind of played
That
off of
bounce
each
back
other.
and forth.
Exactly. Played off of a kind of like yin and yang type of marketing.
Gotcha.
And it worked for a little while. And then we started doing like a lot of like indie music because at the time that this was happening, a lot of equipment was being created so that you can record at home.
Home instead of booking studio time and stuff.
Exactly.
Home
So
recording is way on the big
and
like the
and
thing now.
and that changed everything too because there were artists who didn't have to go to LA or go to New York to go cut a demo.
Yeah.
They were making things in their room like how we were.
Yeah, and it still sounded good because you have the equipment available.
Yeah, they started messing with it, figuring it out, putting vocal tones, doing different stuff, and this indie scene just kind of blew up. And you had and to his credit, Drake really like hopped on that early. He was
Yes.
doing stuff with like Leaky Lee and doing covers of songs like from like Demi Lovato and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
people that were like this isn't necessarily hip hop,
Pop.
but it expanded the audience so much
Mhm.
that and it wasn't necessarily pop yet because it was so underground.
Mhm.
So they were exploiting these sounds and we started exploiting these sounds and I had a we met another singer. Her name is Chella. Shout out Chella. She was from Arizona and just amazing. She just had this really indie sound. So we got
You have a track
together.
with her, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a track with her that's going to be coming out soon. So
Oh, yeah.
excited that we continue to work to
Yeah.
this day.
That's
But
rad that you keep that relationship. That's awesome.
yeah, man, relationships are everything, bro.
Yeah.
The one of the worst things that I want is I don't want to make it in this business and look around
And have
and
nobody.
have nobody around or recognize or not even recognize
Yeah.
anybody. It's like, oh, I just met you last week when I won this Grammy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'd much rather win with everybody where we were in the garage together. Like, we were struggling with no AC,
Yeah, yeah,
like it was
yeah.
just we were there making it
Yeah.
happen. So she's one of those people and we started making a lot of like indie groove kind of music,
Hell yeah.
and just experimenting, man. It was
Yeah.
just like a lot of experimenting. It was experimental time. We didn't know what worked anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Because there's so many different types of styles coming out all the
before
time.
Jay-Z put his stamp on it, he said there's no more rules. Like we were in that time of there were no more rules. So we didn't really know the right way to make it. We just
Yeah.
had to keep working, keep being consistent. And through all of that, we tried different things. Some things worked, some things didn't. And I've just been in the game, just mastering my craft, working forward. And it's brought me here. And
Hell yeah.
I've been able to tour because of it. I've been able to collaborate with a lot of artists, been on 4 different tours and seen the United States, been able to see Japan, been
That's
able
gnarly.
to I haven't been able to see all of the world yet, trying to get
Oh, we'll
there,
get there.
but that's always been the goal,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My goal now, instead of selling out all those arenas, is just to be able to have fans wherever I go, where I can do a show and express myself in there and hopefully make someone else's life better,
Yeah.
within that. I don't need anything to be super extravagant. If I can have enough money and be in a situation, have enough freedom where I can just travel the world and perform, that's really the blessing,
Yeah, definitely. And even on that smaller scale, you get that connection more with those fans.
100%.
You know,
100%.
nowadays it's crazy with the switch in music is that you don't have to be mainstream anymore.
No.
You can be independent. You can sell your merch, have your videos come out. You know,
Mhm.
people can donate. You know,
Mhm.
like it's so much more inclusive. Like you're saying, the switch
Yeah.
to seeing that whole back end of the artist.
Yeah, yeah, because before when you were an artist, it was a lifelong thing, because you signed contracts that were crazy
Crazy.
and
Like Kanye's trying to. Oh
right?
my god,
It's
that's
insane.
crazy.
He's trying to get his master. And someone like Kanye, where he's a billionaire.
Where and everybody looked at him like that guy had to get the deal of a lifetime.
Exactly. And in all honesty, no one really has the deal of the lifetime.
You have to make it yourself almost because you
Yes.
get that first little like inch in,
Hmm.
and that just gets your toes in,
Yes.
really. And then once you kind of start investing, that's when you get your foot in the door.
And that's when the real work starts.
Mhm.
People think getting signed and you're going to be straight, and that's not the case.
No,
And a lot of people, depending on who you are, you gotta you take the curves with the straights.
yeah,
Where it's like I might have to sacrifice this and I get this, but I know how I'm going to flip it to
yeah,
be in a better position. Someone like Drake had to do that. Like he was signed to somebody who was signed to somebody who was
yeah.
signed to another major label, and they weren't getting their fair share. But he knew my talent is going to
Take me.
rocket me
Yeah,
to the place that I need to go. I'm going to maneuver in the right ways, build the right relationships, and now, arguably, he probably has the best deal. He
yeah.
probably has the best situation, and where he's amassed a fan base where he can put out whatever he wants
Yep.
and it automatically goes. And that's amazing for him.
Hmm.
Like that's really cool. And
That
I think that
feeling in
that's
itself,
for
just
sure.
like thinking back to like the beginning, and
Hmm.
then like I'm here now. I've
Yeah.
officially like come to the point where like, dude, I could bring anybody in the studio, even if it was like my best friend, and we could
Hmm.
just do something, and have a
And
good time.
yeah, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
So hopefully, my music takes me to that place as
I
well.
believe a lot of people that we work under productive culture. Shout out productive culture and
Shout out.
JMKM.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that a lot of people that we have under the umbrella really of like productive culture and the people we've touched with this platform.
Hmm.
A lot of like you can just see the growth over time
Yeah.
because like people have been working with JMKM for years,
Hmm.
and he has all these connections, so it's
Hmm.
it's it's coming.
Yeah.
The traction's starting to go. We're starting to make more moves in the right direction as far as like getting him more of a
Yeah.
footing in social media and stuff.
Definitely, and I commend Cam so much because he brought me out of my shell when it came to experimenting with the internet and like what kind of campaigns could we work on. I got introduced to him in 2015 through Jordan Quaylar, and Jordan Quaylar did some art for Jordan, and I went to high school with Jordan Quaylar,
Okay.
and so we always had a bond. He always supported the music, and when we connected, it was like, yo, I got this dude. He does awesome stuff. He's a producer, engineer. You
Does
have
it
to meet
all.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, all right, for sure. So then when we met up, it was like, okay, he had he had the experience and the things that we were missing operationally on what we can do. We were a lot of creatives, and he was just like, not only is he a creative, but he was like, here's how we can apply this,
Yeah.
and like I'm not saying that I have the right answer. However, we can try.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm willing to try. I have the courage to
He
try.
does it. He'll just do it.
And that's
Yeah.
that's just that's a rare skill to have, to just like do it and not worry about how it's going to
Yeah.
go, and then see the positives out of what happened and be able to pivot.
Yeah.
So um when I met him, I knew that he was one of those guys that I was going to keep a relationship
Yeah.
with throughout my entire career.
Yeah.
I think every artist has those people where they
Yeah.
meet them and they're like, okay, you're going to be around forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as I'm doing this and as long as you're doing this is what's going to
Mhm.
happen. So and we tried all kinds of things. We tried throwing events locally in Pomona and what they would look like and making adjustments. We tried raising money and having sponsors, and we tried recording this way and we tried recording that way and having this studio and getting this space, and
Yeah.
it was just a bunch of trial and error because there aren't any rules. We don't know what's going to stick.
Yeah.
But it's great to have people around that are going to stick it out with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Definitely.
Who are going to run it and go. And, he's been building productive culture, and we have some exciting things
Yeah.
with productive culture that we're going to be getting into.
Yeah.
And it's just the switch that's going to be
Yep.
put on,
Yeah,
So I'm
definitely.
excited.
And that's like really a big reason, which shout out to Mike. He's behind the board and behind the mic back there.
Hello.
Derbs on the board.
Derbs on the board.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should get Jordan on a Nike commercial, bro. Just do it.
I like
Dude,
that.
He
It
could
would be
You know what I'm
amazing.
saying? He just does it.
He just does it.
Jordan getting sponsored by Nike would be, I think he'd really, really appreciate that, just because I know that he also loves Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So for JMKM to have his own Nike Jordan would be insane.
Ugh.
I would love to make that happen for him. Like
Dude,
any way that we can make
the
that
push
happen.
they're doing with right now with a lot of like, because the wave of hip hop is getting so big, especially with the shutdown.
Yeah.
Of like with the COVID,
Mm-hmm.
like it's been insane. Like McDonald's with like Travis Scott, he had
Yeah.
his own meal.
Yeah.
Like they gave that full money
Yeah.
to put his name and say, "Hey, this is Travis Scott's meal."
Yeah.
Which is insane that now the hip hop is on that rise. You know?
It's crazy because hip hop led the way by saying, if you like, hip hop is a business,
100%.
and a lot of people don't understand that every one of these artists are a business. So when our marketing techniques could transfer over to actual businesses, what did artists start doing in 2009, 2010? They started letting them in, letting audiences into what they were doing, started showing them like, hey, this is how we operate through our ups and downs. A lot of businesses don't show the insides or what's
it's like
going
a secret.
on. Yeah. And now they're getting to the point where it's like, maybe we should be a little bit more transparent with what we do and how we do it. And you start getting a little bit more loyalty that comes out of
Definitely.
consumers who are just like, okay, now that I see what you believe in and how you operate, yeah, I'm going to support you. Oh, you like Travis Scott too? Awesome. And if you do it in a more authentic way, they let Travis design what he wanted to design,
Exactly.
and they let the commercials reflect,
Him.
him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a Pepsi
Yeah.
Michael Jackson commercial or anything like that, or a
Yeah,
Pepsi
super over the
Beyonce.
top, and someone just
Yeah.
wrote it and was like, "This is how it's gonna be."
It was like, we're gonna do this like how Travis would want. And in doing that, it brought them a lot of business. And now they're doing J Balvin. And it's probably gonna continue. I'm sure that there's gonna be maybe a Meg Thee Stallion on the way, or
Yeah.
a Cardi B on the way, or
Yep.
something along those lines. And it doesn't just have to be food. It could be all kinds of businesses just starting to work with artists in a way that's authentic, so that we can help push the brands, uniquely.
Yeah,
in
it's
their
almost a
way.
double. Like you guys are, it's a helping of each other,
Mhm.
because you're promoting one brand
Mhm.
with your name, and then your music is also your name to your music. So
Yeah. And a lot of these companies thought that they didn't need that. They were just like, oh, yeah, no, we don't need that. We get money regularly. And it's like, okay, that's not going to last forever. You know what I mean? You're
especially
gonna,
nowadays with like fast food places and like health food, and
That's-
people being more aware of their diets and stuff.
Absolutely.
They have to have some
Absolutely.
sort of shift to like bring people in and catch that audience.
As much as America wants to make companies believe that they are forever, like, you're not. You may last a long time,
Yeah.
but we change, and we want different
Mhm.
things. You have to pivot and be aware of those times and make the adjustment either ahead of the curve, ahead of the trend.
Yep.
So you can be a trendsetter, or or in a like a category 1 type of
Yeah.
situation. Or you get left behind, and you try and come up with it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite brand pivots was Domino's.
Yep.
Domino's was trash for a
A
long time.
It was
A
Papa
long
John's
time.
that was actually at the top, and then
Yep.
Papa John's tanked.
Of course, because they're racist.
Yes, he's racist. So, and then all of a sudden they came in, and someone totally new owns it now. So it's different.
Yeah, it's different. And, Shaq's on the board, and,
Yep.
they still have to work through what they're doing.
Yeah.
They haven't figured it out yet. But Domino's came
Dude.
through and said, you know what? Our pizza sucks. I'm sorry.
Yep.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
Our pizza hasn't been up to par. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna relook at the recipe. We're gonna redo all of this stuff. And they literally did it.
Mhm.
They were transparent about it.
Mhm.
They were like, we're gonna invest in technology. We're gonna add, these crazy Domino's cars that takes your, your pizza and keeps it
Nice and
nuclear for
warm. Yeah.
for a long ass time. And and they admitted to it, and they had the CEO there, and in the commercials, it wasn't no flash. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
like that. They just said, we just want to make something better than what we were making before.
Yeah.
And we think that if we make something better, you're going to enjoy it too. And now I order Domino's. I don't go anywhere else.
Dude,
you know?
that's what we do every time. If we're
Yeah.
thinking pizza, we're like, oh, dude, let's get 2 medium pizzas, $5.99,
Boom.
and we'll just go pick it up real fast.
Yo,
Boom.
if you're ever in the Midwest, you got to try Jets.
Jets?
Jets, huh?
Jets Pizza, bro.
Jets
Okay.
pizza. You've talked about it before.
Yeah, you
Is
got to
it-
get the deep dish though.
Is it a franchise?
It's only in like Michigan and Ohio, I think.
Okay. So it's just like a smaller but there's like a lot of them, right? There's like,
Oh yeah,
there's around.
they're all
Okay.
over the place.
Yeah, so it's just a smaller franchise,
Yeah.
but that's really cool. I've had deep dish pizza
Dude.
before, from what is it? What's the popular one in Chicago? Gianni's,
Gianni's?
something like that, something like that. But that mug put me to sleep, bro. I had
that food come after?
yeah, man. I had 2 slices of that, and I was like, done, right in the booth.
I wish they had. I used to work at this place called Oregano's Pizza Bistro.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been to Arizona.
I have
out
been to
there?
Arizona, but I haven't had
No,
that.
so it's a popular pizza place, like kind of like family oriented pizza place. Really good drinks though.
Oh,
they
okay.
have
So
a-
they have alcohol.
Yeah, they have a Bellini that's
Mhm.
like, dude, if you drink like 2 of those,
I don't even know what a Bellini is, so explain
No
it
one
to me.
does. No one does. It's a peach schnapps,
Okay.
champagne.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure it has and there's a bunch of like liqueurs in it. You know, it's really nice and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also put sangria in.
I love sangria.
And it's like, and it looks like this nice little, almost like sherbet looking drink.
Nice.
And it's nice, and it's Arizona, so it's hot, so it's nice and cold, and it's
See,
that frozen drink. And
I
stuff.
don't like call me whatever, but I dig those like colorful drinks
Oh.
that get you fucked up.
Oh,
like,
dude, why
I'm
wouldn't
like,
you?
everybody's like, oh, gentlemen, you got to
Yeah.
have your whiskey on the rocks. And yeah, I'll take my whiskey, but like, get me a colorful drink that like I'm looking at it like this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's going to get me fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down for
It's
sure.
gonna taste good. I'm not gonna have to just sip on it. I
Yeah.
can like drink these on the reg throughout the evening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's shout out to them for
Yeah.
doing that.
Dude, it's a
'cause-
really cool place because it's all antique. So like
Okay,
they actually
sick.
go to like places and have one person who they have like a budget. You have $250,000 to go
Mhm.
find antiques, and they put them all over the restaurant. So it's all like 20s and 30s style. It's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's sick.
So does that person always change? Like, does the antiques always change? Or
No, so whenever that store gets put up, those antiques are like there forever, and they have
Got
stuff that like some people don't even have. Like,
Got it.
They had a map in there that had like the territories instead of the states,
Oh wow,
so it was like a full map, nice color and everything.
wow,
It was territories instead of
History.
states. Yeah,
that's crazy.
it said it was the what was it before the tech instead of it being Texas? What was it? The territory that was encompassing that was the hugest one on the side.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I don't know
You don't
U.S.
know?
history, dude.
Oh,
I
dude, I
did-
thought you were my
I took world history because U.S. history was boring.
world history. I'm not a history buff. I forgot it all after I stopped going to school.
I do love history.
I love history too.
I do love history. I think that there's a lot to learn, from history. I do believe that history repeats itself. And unless you learn from it,
and change it.
unless you change it. But even if you change it, I think that, people have patterns, and there's only so many ways to go about doing something. It's just that there's a lot of ways. I don't say that to say like there's only 2 or 3. No, there's
I usually say there's
thousands.
one to do one thing. There's 1,000 ways to do one thing.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, for sure. And it depends on who's doing it.
Yeah.
And it depends on their motivation.
Mhm.
And it depends on, their knowledge. I kind of believe in like communal thought. Like when you get an idea, you aren't the only person with that idea.
Yeah.
It may have struck you at a time in your life where you can't make that idea a
Or connect that
possibility
dot.
or connect it, but it also struck somebody who can.
Mhm.
And it struck somebody who never, who isn't even at that level yet.
Yeah.
It's all of these things that just kind of happen. And that's why that's why I admire JMKM, because you have to do, you just have to do it. When you get
Definitely.
it, do it and see what happens,
Yeah.
because if you wait, you're going to have somebody else do it. And you're going to be like, oh, that was my idea. Like how'd they, well,
Yeah.
they had the
They
same
had
idea.
the same idea. You're not the only one.
You're
there's-
not the only one.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's why I pulled the trigger on this pod.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about it for, I don't know, a year or two, about like starting podcasts, and then finally just pulled the trigger.
Had to, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, automatic.
yeah.
Was that was there a point like that for you? with music, you're just like, I gotta get in. Like you said that you were like, I'm hearing all this. When was that?
Yeah, that was like, I want to say I was hearing it like around 2007.
How old
Um,
were you?
I
then?
was 16.
16.
I was 16, and Soldier Boy was all the rage.
Dude. Oh
And,
my god.
people like, what was it like?
It's all the club
That was like,
music. That
yeah,
was
it was
you
the
were saying.
ringtone rap.
Yeah,
It was the
ringtone rap.
ringtone. It was the ringtone rap.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Ringtone rap.
Yes, it was the ringtone rap era, and like I was listening, like Lupe Fiasco is my favorite artist, so
Oh
I was
yeah.
listening to like Food and Liquor and the Cool, and like there was like some underground cats that were coming out around that time. I even listened to like this dope Christian rap group called House of Representatives. Oh wait, no, they were called Cross Movement.
Cross move.
Cross Movement, and their album was called House of Representatives. And that was just it was just bars like about God and about like,
Damn.
but like super dope and like not in like a
Cheesy,
corny
yeah,
way.
not like cheesy.
It was like they were with rap it's a lot of storytelling.
Yeah.
So like they had this song called Off the Hook that was talking about like their artist going to court and being like tried unfairly, and like Jesus is the one that ends up taking the sentence and like
Dang.
dies for their sins basically.
That's
And like comes back,
crazy.
and like the whole story is like insane. It's like an atmosphere
Wow.
type of record where you're just like, this is nuts. Like I'm following this whole
That
thing.
is nuts.
It was super cool.
I've never heard of them, but that's crazy that like, because I mean, a lot of like, with all the artists I've worked with here, the Thought, you, Sloth, when you get to a point and you're able to say the thing without saying it,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, I think that's like MC right there. If you can
Yeah.
say the thing you're trying to say without actually saying it, that's when you're there. That's when you got that, like, I'm an MC.
Yeah, yeah. It took practice. Like this is just me. This is like the birth of me just like listening to it, and I'm like, my mind is the same as these guys. What can I do to add to their fight? What can I do to add to this?
Definitely.
And in 2009, when I met my homie at the time, Rivera, who was a rapper, he really started bringing it out of me and saying like, yo, you can rap also, like you can talk about this also. And then that's when we started working together and and I was just practicing and practicing, because you don't start off good,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
and you don't even know what you want to say yet. You're just like saying things and you're mimicking what you've
Heard
heard
before.
before, and as you become more as you become more of a person, you understand yourself, you understand what you believe in, then you can start tailoring what your message is. And that's kind of how it started happening. So I didn't really have the message that I wanted to speak about until like 2015, 2014, 2015. So that's like a solid
was like
6 years of,
6 years
of
of-
development,
Yeah.
for myself, of just trying different music, trying different
Different
sounds,
flows
different
and-
flows,
yeah.
trying to figure it out, like different beats, catering to the club crowd because you want to perform and you want to
Yeah.
jump around and it looks great.
Yeah.
And then, but secretly wanting to talk about real shit and not knowing how to incorporate that with this, and
Mhm.
people not vibing with it, but then people do vibe with it in certain settings. And, it's just all of this trying to figure it out. And the main thing that I could say is just you have to be true to self. And I don't want to say the faster, because I don't want anyone to rush knowing who they are.
Mhm.
But the more you prioritize learning about yourself, the easier and the quicker you can start making music that you feel resonates with your soul and
Mhm.
resonates with the right people that you want around you.
Mhm.
And as soon as you do that, it's game time.
Yeah.
It's game time around that. So 2016, I dropped The Night Before and The Morning Of.
Dude, we were listening to that song earlier and I was like, yo, this is like the most positive thing I've ever heard in my life. And then like I was like, oh, it's like has Gary Vee on it too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
rad.
yeah. Gary Vee, that was
And
that was
he's
a
like
lob.
a super like that guy
Positive,
is so
yes,
positive.
yes,
I love
and-
the way he speaks about everything.
And that was a lob from Jam Cam, because he got on to Gary Vee early about this guy that was just talking. He was pumping him up because, JMKM at the time was like the only guy that I knew that was just do. But he found a guy that was telling him like,
You
do
do
like
it,
that you
yeah.
like do it, you know,
Yeah.
and that was Gary Vee at the time on his come up. And he was getting, more notoriety online for his messages, for them
Yeah.
being blunt, for them being positive, for them being right, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah.
So JMKM was sending him beats for his YouTube videos, and it got on a few of his Ask Gary V
Yeah.
shows,
Yeah.
playlists and stuff. And when I was making the song, I remember at that time Gary Vee came out with you want to just call it a rant, of him talking about how much he loved Mondays.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to make a Monday morning song because I had the same thought process of, if I can create a song that can motivate people to start their week off right, that would be really dope,
Yeah.
and like just get people to go.
Because
And
everybody says I hate Mondays.
I hate Mondays. And I was just like, I don't like that. I don't like that people hate Mondays. Like,
Mondays.
it's just a day,
Yeah.
and you can make the most of it.
Yeah.
So why not? And so when I saw that clip, I was working with an engineer and artist at the time. He goes by Apollo, and he's also an artist. His music is under Tilden Park.
Okay.
And he makes super dope stuff.
He's a producer.
He's a producer. He produced some music for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
for you, right?
Yeah, and I featured him, and he's featured me on a couple
Nice.
songs as
You
well.
guys all
So,
go back and forth with features, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's even more spread.
yeah, we tried to, man. You got
Yeah.
to work with people.
I figure it's like you said, it's the shift. It's not me anymore. It's us.
Yes.
It's like if our whole group that we've been rapping with or
Mhm.
doing music with,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all or some type of art, video, cameras, everything. If you have this whole team, because when we watch I watched the master class. Me and Mike got the master class thing, and it has Timberland master class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching this, and I'm just looking over. He's got two other dudes who are also producers,
Yeah.
that can fully know the like, music theory and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like he has a team,
Yeah.
So you see these big guys that they're making crazy beats, but they have a team right there. Like, oh yeah, like let's try this.
Yeah.
The heads knocking back and forth.
And that was one of the things that we didn't know when, in 2007 and 2008, when all of these artists were so mysterious.
Yep.
We didn't realize that there was an entire team that was with them.
Yeah, no one knew.
That's something
No
that
one.
Wiz, exposed, not like exposed, but he was just like my boy Will engineers me. How many
Yeah.
times in early, Wiz Khalifa songs you heard him,
Yeah.
hey, Will on the boards,
board, yeah,
or
mentioning
anything like
his
that.
guys,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned Will or ID Labs or Germs,
Yep.
Germs on the boards and
Mhm.
all of that. So he showed them, in the YouTube
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing with Mac Miller, like,
Dude,
and
that
same thing with
was,
Tyler the Creator.
Yeah,
he
all
had
those guys were kind of right there. I guess because we do have actually I think it's a Scratch magazine. It's the graduating class. Like it was Mac, Wiz,
Oh, Double XL.
Double XL, yeah.
Yeah,
And with the graduating class, it was all of them. And thinking back, you're 100% right. Because
Yeah.
that's how I found out about Mac.
Yeah.
I would watch all of his music videos and music on YouTube.
And they all had their homies in there
Yep.
because we're not paying for extras. So I'm going to get my homies in there.
Yeah.
And it was just all part of what was happening. And the trend was we over me. If we all can get there, then we win. There's
Yeah.
enough to go around. And
Yeah.
that was really hammered into my head. When I went on tour in 2014, I went to the Vans Warped Tour, and they had the Yo Bring It Back stage. So Yo BIBT crew that really helped nurture that. And it was comprised of all of these artists and MCs from different locations around, the United States. And it was led by the tour manager, Fritzo, at the time. And Fritzo, when we went, we partnered up with a collective from San Diego called Learning is Endless, LIE, the Lie Show. And we linked with him and the other homie, shout out Ross May. He's super dope. San Diego artist.
yeah.
He plays guitar and like raps.
Nice.
He had like long hair at the time, so he had like the surfer vibes, but he
Yeah.
was like beatboxing and rapping.
That's
It
crazy.
was crazy. It was super crazy. But we all, hopped on the bus, were able to raise some money and was able to get a sponsor and tour. And in that tour, I really learned what it looked like to have like people doing things for you. Like we sold each other CDs, like while the other person was rapping, We would go around in the crowd and be like, yo, this
Oh,
is him right here. Like, if you want to buy CDs
CD.
right here,
Yeah, yeah.
and we would help people sell, and we would be like in the lines together, and we just hustled together.
Nice.
And it really made us feel like, okay, this is what we have to do. So it was something I always knew, but seeing it in action was a different story, and having it implemented. And then so when I got off tour, I was like, I made it my mission. I was like, we got to get our team together. That was key. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's 4 years past when we needed our team together.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely.
Like when it was actually happening.
Yeah.
But I knew for sure, I was
Yeah.
like, this isn't gonna happen without a team. And
Definitely.
and we've had artists, I've interacted with artists who've come from wherever, and they come to LA and they're like, I'm in LA, I'm popping now because I'm the hardest one in
Yeah.
my town. And
Yep.
now I'm in LA, and they get caught up in the whole LA, situation
Yep.
of being about them and pulling up to certain parties
Yeah.
and wearing certain things, and they don't
Looking a
know
certain
anybody there,
way.
looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And then you don't have any friends. You don't have nobody that's around you that's
Yeah.
helping you really make it happen. And if people are trying to get with you at that time, they're usually taking advantage of you because of your talent or what you can do for them at that time. And if that runs out, majority of the time, I would say, maybe like 85%, they're not going to stick around.
Yeah.
And now what?
Yep. What do you do from there when you don't have anybody around you and all you have is money?
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy thing that I've seen the most of is like someone said to me one time is like money is God sometimes to us Americans, where we have this strive
Mm-hmm.
to go to this certain thing and we look at it in a certain way as prestige and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But we also forget the sacrifice.
Yeah.
We forget that it takes a toll, So it's when you have those other members around you and those people to
Mm-hmm.
still uplift your soul, even when
Mhm.
you're in the grind,
Mhm.
it makes it that much more worth it.
Yeah.
You feel like your head's still on that straight and narrow.
Well, they say that the pursuit of money is the root of all evil.
hmm
And so it's not necessarily that money's bad, but the pursuit of it, the belief in it as it being your priority,
Yeah.
will cause bad things to happen for you because you won't care about the relationships that you're really creating.
Yeah. Your
you know
relationship is with money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible thing to
Yeah.
have because money doesn't care about you.
Nope. It doesn't talk back or
It
give you
does
a hug.
it's not going to do anything for you. So
Yeah.
it's better to build the relationships grassroots with all of the people that love you for who you are, and for the value that you bring and the value of you as a human being and how you add to their life and how they add to yours.
hmm
And the money's going to come.
Yeah.
If you do something that's dope and everybody enjoys it, the money's gonna come. And
Yeah.
I've always had that belief. So money was never the main driver for me,
Yeah.
and I've been blessed with abundance just throughout my life, not because I inherited something
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything like that, but because I led with my heart first in what I did, and then I was rewarded in doing that.
hmm
And that's where the money came. I was provided for, and God always provides, in those ways. So, you know, um, there's just too much proof to me to operate in any other capacity.
Yeah. Any other fashion than it already is.
Yep.
Awesome. There's not a lot of people that can hold on to that. It's a interesting time that we live in with the culture that we have with
Yeah.
Twitter and, you can kind of do this one thing and kind of,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
you
it
can,
can
you might
happen
have
fast.
to, you might have to sell out in some
Yeah.
way or,
Yeah.
sacrifice some part of you to
Mhm.
get there. So
And
that's great.
And that's why you have to know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, what you're sacrificing, it could be a piece that you're going to need later. So you have to know, like, what are you willing to give? It's okay to make compromises.
Yes.
It's okay to be like, you know what? I'm going to give this piece up so that I can do this. But if you don't understand the value of that piece that you're giving up, and you're just like, no, like take this, like, I'll go get my body done. I'll go change the way that I am. I'll go, spend this or say that on a record or promote this.
hmm
And then you end up getting there, and you see it now. Like, even with Kanye, like, you see artists that are like, I messed up and I gave money and power to people who didn't care about me. And
Yeah.
that's why he's trying to get his masters now.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the same people you literally rapped about.
Yeah.
Like, you promoted them. You you know, you were in rooms with them, you
Mhm.
shook their hands, you smiled with them.
Yeah.
And now you're realizing, oh shit,
None
these
of you
were
are my friends.
none of you are my friends.
Mhm.
None of you care about me,
Yeah.
you know? And that's why he's into his family now. And every artist goes through that, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
Well, I don't want to say every artist goes through it, but like the biggest of artists are recognizing that. We're in that timeline because
Yeah.
hip hop is still young,
Yes.
you know? It's gonna be turning 50, you know,
Yeah.
in a, you know, in a few years.
Yep.
So it's like because of how young it is, there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah. Definitely. And then like the different ebbs and flows of how everything goes.
100%.
Uh,
100%.
yeah.
You know what I found out the other day? That record contracts started from the mafia.
Really?
Yeah. So
I mean, it would make sense. A lot of the stuff like they instilled like unions, a big part of like
mm-hmm,
well, the problem we're having right now with police
mm-hmm,
is that we have police unions, and a
mm-hmm.
lot of that was in the Midwest and the East Coast of the mafia putting in police unions so they could make sure that they stayed out of their business.
Exactly. You know, and it was the same. It was similar because back in, you know, in early times, black artists weren't allowed to be, you
Yeah.
know, in these clubs or anything like
Performing
that,
or anything.
perform or anything. So they would sign contracts with the mafia, basically Italians, you know, Jewish people at that time,
To get
and
put on.
basically to it was almost like a vouch to the club owner of saying, "Hey, I'm in charge of this person. They're not going to do anything wrong. If anything happens, you can come and talk to me about it." And
Interesting.
they can go perform, you know, and it wasn't just black artists. I mean, Frank Sinatra, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
but that's when
He
the
was
record
he performed for so many different like
for all these
big
clubs.
mafia guys.
Well, because the mafia, they also own the clubs
Yep,
too.
yep.
So it was like, we own the clubs. If you want to perform in this club,
Gotta
I'm
be.
I'm gonna need to own something
Yep.
in order for you to perform in this club.
Yeah.
And they weren't necessarily racist, but they saw an opportunity of money and enslavement and things like that.
Yeah.
So
It's
they were
that
like,
power. It's that power complex.
well, it's an economic thing,
Yeah.
you know,
True.
and that's really where a lot of racism stems from in today's society. And that's why there's a lot of counter with people who are racist, but they're like, no, like I'm not racist. I'm not. Well, you just don't, like, you're not racist in where if you see the color of my skin, you're going to like do something to me or you hate
Yeah.
me, but you're racist in the fact that you don't think that I add to this society,
Yeah.
and you're unwilling to acknowledge anything that I'm doing that is helping this world, this society, or growing my family or growing my
Mhm.
my community.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. You know, it becomes an economic thing where it's like, like, what are the economics of these communities and how are they, you know, showing that? And you can see it today with everybody on Twitter saying, oh, they're looters, they're
Yeah,
poor. Like, the
yeah.
only reason why you use the term looters is because you think that they don't have.
Yeah.
And you
Because
think that,
they're in need.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing is, yes, on one hand, they are,
Mhm.
because of the situations and the systems that have been put in place where they've lacked. But
Mhm.
on the other hand, it's an economic thing. You think money is being messed up, not people.
Yeah.
You know, not you know,
There's
God forbid these kids go without food.
Yeah.
But if you mess up the food stand, then I have a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's really the root of it, you know. So I think the more that ownership and economics could be administrated into the minority communities, and them have a platform to be able to build those things up, which
Yeah.
artists have been able to do, sports have been able to do, and now we're finally seeing it in a corporate sphere. We're starting to see, you know, more black people on boards of different companies. We're starting to see more black CEOs and more black bankers, and, you know, more Hispanic bankers and Hispanic CEOs, and just all these different, you know,
Yeah.
things that now we can start upping the economy of these cultures.
Yeah.
And once the economy is good, and once the money is flowing between these cultures, you're not going to have that kind of racism anymore. Anybody who's just hating to hate, you can get that shit out of here. Like,
Yeah.
America wasn't, well, we were built on that, but like, America's not trying to be that, you
Mhm.
know? And I think people inherently don't want to be that, but they justify all of these other systematic aspects
Yeah.
in
Well,
order to say, oh, well, we're better off.
it's something that I've noticed. It's like whatever the reality is, if they haven't seen it before, it hasn't worked before, or like if something's not right there in front of their face or tangible, that they're going to see a change quick.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like I know people that like they want to vote for Trump because of a fact of like, well, the other guy has dementia, he's done well in business and stuff. And my point is that that's almost like saying we're gonna pick the better of two evils here. We're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna pick this better evil because it's not as bad. And is that what we're gonna sing to? Is are we gonna go to that level of like being like, it's okay. Like he does some bad stuff, but it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just very interesting for me. I think in this time of our country, with everything that's going on, we need someone that has the bread and butter all the way around, where we got the economic part, we have the business. We need a social leader, someone that's going to understand and view. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I've never experienced that before. I've never been in that situation, but I can feel that emotion and sympathize with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have there's also the philosophy and religion side that you need to cater to. There needs to be this whole spread where it's like what you believe in, how you deal with people, and business.
And that's why we can't have old people running the country anymore. And I don't want that to sound ageist.
No,
but it's the timeline just doesn't add up. You know,
and we're too quick now. Like you said, it's too fast.
It's way too fast. And you have people who are 60, 70 years ago wasn't the greatest of times. Like
not for really anybody as far as minorities go at all.
You know, at all.
Women too.
That's what I was going to bring that up is that it's just, it wasn't the greatest of times. So people who grew up in that era have a certain way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that
it's
way
not
of
really
thinking,
their fault if you think about it. It's not that you can, everything you've been taught and nurtured, nature and nurture throughout your whole life till this point, you know, to just throw that out the door.
The system is the system, you know, and you have to have a responsibility once you know that the system is the system. And I think that's where we got to, you know, where everybody would, you know, they were kind of upset that they have this forced responsibility now because the system's been exposed.
Yeah.
You know, it's been exposed on the internet. We know that crazy shit is going on.
Yeah.
We know that people are killing people. We know that cops are killing people. We know that people are hurting cops. We know all of this stuff is happening. So now we have a responsibility collectively of how are we going to approach this? And in the meantime, we have two leaders who are on opposite sides of the spectrum, but they're one and the same because they grew up in the era of all of this going on.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to seem like that it's the lesser of two evils, but you have to look at who's willing to change.
Yeah.
Who's willing to make that change.
Yeah.
And that's where I view it as, you know, Donald Trump is not going to change. He's just a person that's very
He's a businessman.
He's very set in his ways. He's set in his way of thinking. He's set in how he operates, and he doesn't want that to change. And he thinks that if he does change that he'll lose his fans. He feels
or his
like
honor, like some sort of pride or ego, something
whatever it is, he feels like he lose it. With Joe Biden, he's probably not the best candidate at all. However, I feel like that he would be willing to understand, for being how old he is and how much he's lived through life.
Yeah.
You know, he's willing to understand and have conversations and change his way of thinking and adjust. And I think that that's very, very important.
Yeah.
You know, outside of this election, however it happens, we can no longer have candidates that are this out of touch. Ever.
It doesn't work.
You know, we can't. Our next group of candidates, I hope, are very, you know, I don't want to say very young, but are young enough to understand how we're moving as a society. You know, it's better to have a council of people who can give you the wisdom, you know, like people who've been there before you, have them as a council, but our actual leader, like how you said, needs to have the spectrum of the things, economics, philosophy, religion, and social, you know, of how we're going to operate.
This country has so many, we're a melting pot. We literally are. We have so many different cultures and ethnicities in this country that you can't help but be understanding. That's the interesting thing, is that the original message coming to the United States of America, you know, coming over here, was that it's the land of the free, the home of the brave. So we're all going to be here together, learn, and it just shifted.
Yeah.
Over so many years, it slowly just kept going in a certain direction, all the way through.
Well, when you start off the country with the genocide.
Of a whole culture?
That's a problem,
Yeah.
you know?
When you say that's wrong, because it's not like ours.
Exactly. So what are we, so free for who?
Yeah.
You know, because land of the free only applied to a certain group of people. And that was the problem, because the ideals make sense. It's not like I don't want to be patriotic or anybody doesn't want to be patriotic. I would love to love America.
Yeah.
However, America has let me down over and over and over again. And my love for America can't be unconditional like that. You know, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because like I was reading somewhere they were saying like George Washington only won like 6% of the vote. And like he won.
Yeah.
So who was voting?
That's true, yeah.
And it's like, okay, if the first, like, I don't know, presidents up to, when did women start voting? Like late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that. Early 1900s.
When it first started, like
when
really
women started
popping.
voting. Yeah. So if minorities couldn't vote, women couldn't vote until the 1900s. You're telling me we have over 100 years of presidents that only white men were able to vote for, and they got to dictate how we ran this society.
Yeah.
And so why are we praising them now? Why are we praising our forefathers to have this whole thing right when they had it completely wrong from the jump?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, we have them on our money and we talk about the Declaration of Independence
Which
and all
needs
this
an update.
which needs an update, a severe update, you know, like amendments and all these things need to
my
happen.
favorite thing is like, I'm not for or against guns, I should say you should protect yourself within your home.
100%.
Within your home, you should protect yourself. Within
Yes.
your property and your rights, you should protect yourself 100%. But if you're out on the street, I don't think you need an AR-15. I think we should have all the general understanding that I don't need to shoot anybody.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
We don't need to have this altercation in order to get to this certain
We
point.
don't need that one what if to dictate how all of this, you know, runs.
Yeah.
And I get having the Second Amendment. I exercise protecting, you know, my home and everything like that. Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think that learning how to use weapons is a form of just human beings. Like we've just been able to make tools and make weapons to get things done.
Definitely.
However, you know, what was written back then, they had muskets. They didn't know that AR-15s and
that's literally exactly what you're saying. The
Yeah.
muskets. This old guy runs into this office. He's all pissed off. He has a musket. Does the whole thing. Everyone's running, right? He fires a shot, completely misses because they were so inaccurate.
Yeah.
It just went like off to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he keeps doing it again. And then everyone's out of the room by the time he has the second bullet in.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
and it's ridiculous how we've advanced our military and how we've advanced guns and things like that. And I'm all for defense if defense is needed.
Yeah.
But it's defense, you know, for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's just like we've become the aggressors, and that's the problem.
Even
you know?
to other countries.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh, the bully's America.
Well, it used to be we were the protectors.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where a lot of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, where they grew up in.
Yeah.
You know, they grew up in the time when we were considered the protectors, you know, in America.
Will step in, don't
exactly.
worry.
We got this. And we started becoming the aggressors.
Yeah.
And we have too much ego to admit that, you know, but in all reality, we originally were the aggressors.
Yeah.
You know, we came here and we didn't establish harmony.
Mm-mm.
You know, we didn't try.
Let's try and like live in this together. Oh, you guys are here already? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, oh wait, we were late to the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us how you guys live here. Like, how do you survive?
Yeah.
Like, how does this work?
And they just started taking advantage because they were like, well, you know, we tend to the land and the land is owned by the land.
Mm-hmm.
We are just here to service it. And they were like, wait, so nobody owns the land? Sign right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say that I own the land.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that when you hear about all those contracts, is that they would phrase it. I mean, just like how they do today with like a lot of propositions and everything that are going on. They'll phrase it in a way that like seems like, yeah, you should do this. This is the best thing for society and it's going to be awesome. But like there's this like contingency plan that they have that they're like, oh, well, you actually said you would give it to us outright.
Yeah.
And you get this little plot that's like,
yeah, like you said that, you know. So
you said it, but I don't speak your language.
There
you had
go.
an interpreter interpret it from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some guy that has never met another guy is interpreting for a language that they don't technically understand.
And why didn't you learn that language so that you can respect me and we could respect each other? Because
God, how cool would it be?
It'd be amazing.
How
Honestly,
cool
bro.
if we could speak like in different areas, like, oh, we speak Cherokee
Yeah.
up here, and you know, like,
Bro, if it really happened, we would have Native American skyscrapers, like actual like architecture that would be attached to that. I would picture like imagine Native American police,
oh,
you know,
it'd be
like
crazy.
walking around like with their, you know, they have their face, you know,
Like our culture, our respect for
exactly
the earth would be so
Yes.
much different.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we'd be having this conversation of green versus whatever. You know what I
No,
mean?
there
I think
wouldn't
we'd
be
like,
pollution like that
we'd
at
be
all.
like, what are you talking about? We always take care of the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, we wouldn't have any pollution at all. And honestly, this planet has been made perfect for us. Like, there's no leaving this place.
Nah.
Like, you know, they want to talk about delusions of grandeur.
We
like,
want to try as hard as we can, but we're not even there yet. We can't.
We're
yet.
not there.
We're not there.
We are not there. We're not going. Like, they want to talk about going to Mars and doing colonies and all this other
Which would
stuff.
be
Like,
super cool, super really cool in concept.
yes.
But are we going to do the same thing that we did here?
Not only that,
There.
the way that we function is for this planet. Like, the way that we grow, like how plants grow, is only because we are on this planet. If we go to another planet, we will not be able to grow the same. Our cells will
We'll
not
change.
receive the things that we're supposed. We will cease to be human. We're not going to be human anymore. We'll be something else.
Or a different species of human. All of a sudden there'll be subspecies and stuff.
And it's like, what are we doing? You
Mhm.
know, why don't we just do what we have to do to protect this planet? You know, the one that we have.
Yeah.
And it's just so unfortunate, you know.
Which is definitely a different outlook. I never thought of it that way.
Mhm.
And because I'm all about like, there's a certain point where I've had this argument with multiple people. It's like, when do you call progress, and when do you call it like ruining like the earth? You know, so it's like, where do you? That's such a fine line to define, and that's a really good point. Is that if we can't take care of what we already have right now, then what makes you think you're going to be able to do it somewhere else?
What's the
number
point?
one,
Yep.
And number two, if you don't understand it, you know, fully, if we don't have, you're closing your eyes and
I
just
think one
going
of the
for it.
things that America doesn't
Excuse me.
understand is harmony. You know, they at least as a whole, Americans or America just in general, or even our planet, I won't even just like attach it to America because there's other countries that are doing this
Yeah.
too. It's just that they don't understand the harmonic, you know, function of the things in our planet. The sun heats the ground, brings us our food. We consume the food. Everything goes back into the earth. The earth brings back food in different ways and in different. So we should just keep that in our forefront whenever we're thinking of ideas to do stuff. So if it's doing something, if we're like going to create something or invent something and we're like, yeah, but it kind of takes up all the water, then that's something that we can't do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just point blank period.
Yeah.
It's like,
if there's like a fail that's going to really dramatically change, possibly.
yeah.
Like, oh, in 20 years, whatever. It's 20 years.
And that's the problem.
yeah.
You know, one of the greatest things about the Native Americans is that they live for 7 generations beyond them. That's what they kept in mind. They were like, I'm doing this so that 7 generations beyond me are still able to function in this way and have plentiful of whatever I'm doing right now. America cares, and just, you know, our world right now, they just care about their own lifetime.
Yeah.
So they're like, as long as I can have it
The A to
within my
B.
lifetime,
Yeah.
when I'm gone, I don't care what happens after that. And because we don't think about generations going forward, because we didn't think about the people around us being people, you know, we think that we're above everybody. And in doing that, we've ruined our generations to come. And that's kind of why, you know, people make the argument for younger leaders. Like, now, young people, we don't understand shit, you know, like, because we're still growing up.
But I feel like we're willing to.
We're willing to.
You know, we're willing to be like, well, teach me. Then,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but we're a little reckless.
Yeah.
You know, we're a little reckless. We do outrageous stuff. Our emotions are still there. We don't understand like how to move to make sure that everything is covered, you know, because we're not exposed to everything as yet.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard for us to
Those
comprehend.
experiences haven't come our way yet.
100%. But that, you know, what was it that I think she was like from Switzerland or something like that. That Gretchen, you know, girl who's about the environment and everything like that. She's mad because like she's about to live through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she's 12 to probably 16. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point. Yeah.
At this
Yeah,
point.
it's weird when they're on TV and you forget. You're like, how old are they now?
Yeah, like you have no idea.
Yeah.
But in her next 40, 50 years, she's literally thinking about how the planet is going to be. While Donald Trump in his 70 years is like, I'm probably going to last maybe another 10, 15, if that, you know, on just average, because my diet is McDonald's and whatever it is.
I can't believe he did that one time. What was it, the Super Bowl or the NCAA championship or something like that? And he got everybody McDonald's and like Taco Bell. It was like Ricky Bobby's fucking dinner. It was like
Wendy's. Yeah, it was like Wendy's and McDonald's and all this other stuff. And it was just like, fam, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
I was just like, you're going to bring people. You wouldn't be like, I want to show them how elegant the White House is and how much beautiful, like the history of like, we have all this stuff and like treat it.
It's because it's based off of what he thinks about them. That's why.
That's so weird.
That's the problem.
I would never assume like, you know what? They just probably want McDonald's and like Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's all because he doesn't have any of their experience. So he's like, oh, well, what's around in their communities? They all grew, McDonald's and Wendy's. Like, let's get them that. They're going to love that. And it's like, fam, have you like, and he eats it too, but I'm sure, he's rich enough to have chefs that make wonderful meals. But to him, he's like, no, this is my experience. This isn't your experience. So I'm not going to give this to you. This is what I got.
Hey, what do you guys want to do? Like, let's do something.
No, that because he doesn't care about other people like that. He cares about his own experience. And that's a reflective of a lot of people in America. It's not just him.
Oh, no, definitely.
A lot of people just care about their own experience.
Living in their own personal reality.
And our algorithms have enhanced that because our algorithms are now an echo chamber of what we believe in.
Yeah, what you see and what you look at on a regular.
I mean, I guarantee if we took your feed on Instagram and my feed on Instagram and we scrolled through the explore page, we would have the chances of us having the same things are super slim.
Yeah.
We may have some of the same things because obviously we love music.
We work together.
Exactly. We work together and all these other things. And we have, similar beliefs in what we do. But there are people who have different beliefs where they're seeing the same news or not seeing the same news. And they think that everybody else is seeing what they're seeing.
Yeah, everybody else must be thinking this too.
So they go out into the world and they're like, Joe Biden has dementia, Nancy Pelosi's a witch. And then you have other people that are like, Donald Trump's a racist and all these other things. And some of it may be true. However, the side that you're getting is so
skewed,
that you can have a friend who is going through a different experience as you and you not believe your friend.
Yeah.
You know this person.
Yep.
You have conversations with them and they're like, I got pulled over yesterday for no reason. I was black and cop came out and he's saying all these kinds of things. And you're like, well, you must have done something wrong.
Bro.
You had to have done something wrong.
People think that.
I've seen on my feed, like there's just so many people who've done something. It wasn't about the color of your skin. And it's like, I'm your friend. Like my experience should be closer to what you're seeing on a screen. And that example alone should negate your thought process on how this is just something that happens.
Yeah.
Even if it's a case by case basis, your mind should open up to the fact of saying, oh, that does happen. So if I'm faced with this, I have to be a little bit more critical in my thinking.
Yeah. With like the current times, I'm a person who I really believe in like that we're all here on this planet together. Like you said, this is all we got, right?
That's all we got.
We're all here. Yes, we live in different parts of the country. We live in different parts of the world. We may not all get to connect to each other. And that's just a fact. There's too many people.
Yeah.
But like looking at it as a whole that, we're all human and we're all people and we're all here trying to do the same thing. We're trying to progress as people.
Trying to grow. That's it.
And be, do something productive in this life. And that's where like I see.
Is that song released yet?
What song?
Gotta Grow.
Oh no, I haven't put it out yet.
That's one we recorded the other day, right?
Yeah. So we have that one. I have a song called Growth that is out on 1000 and it's talking about that, well, not as like a whole from like an American point of view, but just talking about personal growth, like I'm trying to grow. And I made a second version of that song as well.
That's right. It's coming out soon.
Yeah, it's going to be coming out soon. So I'm excited about that, and just continuing to talk about that.
Yeah.
Growth is a huge part of my artistry because you want to try different things. You want to express yourself in these
Mhm.
different ways, but you also want to grow in your beliefs. Like, I don't know everything,
Yeah.
and there are ways that I grew up, that didn't cater to the world that we're in right now. And I had to change the way that I thought about things. I
Yeah.
had to change the way that, if I'm using gay as like a slur or like as something demeaning to another person. Like, I have wonderful gay friends that are
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
and it's like I can't operate like that before just because I grew up, you know, um around where that was acceptable. You have to have the empathy to understand, like, yo, that was wrong. That wasn't the way that I was supposed to be operating.
Yeah.
And these, everyone has their experience,
Yeah.
so like their experience isn't invalidated in any sort of way, just like my experience isn't invalidated in any sort of way, just like any other person's experience isn't invalidated.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's experience isn't invalidated.
Yeah.
But if you operate like that's the only shit that's
Shit that's
going on, then now we have a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
have a
So
very limited view of what actually is going on.
exactly.
It's
And
kind of like the whole topic of the N word being used.
mhm,
Like a lot of people grew up with like African American friends or
mhm,
black friends that
mhm,
like were okay with them saying it at the
mhm,
time
mhm.
and may have like changed their viewpoint on it since. And
Yeah.
like you may have not like revisited the topic with them.
Mhm.
And it's something that like needs to be talked about at point because people
Yeah.
are like
Yeah.
I see people on Twitter just like
Yep.
spouting it.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
don't. I've never. That's weird to me. I've never.
I grew up
I mean, you
with
probably
friends
in
that were
song.
okay with it, man.
Well, in song,
In song.
100%, 100%. But towards the derogatory
No.
towards somebody,
No.
I would. That's the obviously it's not my nature, but it baffles me that people think they can disconnect like that and just throw that on Twitter, like you said.
Well, it's two ways, So I actually have like a response for this, and I think I've figured it out. So one way is um there's this freedom aspect in America where I have freedom. I can say and do whatever I want. You can't tell me that I can't say a word if I don't want to say the word. Um, on the flip side of that, you shouldn't want to because it doesn't pertain to anybody outside of the black culture. Um, what has happened is black people in this country, we've been robbed of our culture, right? We've been robbed of our ancestry, of our language, of the ways that we used to, of even our religion,
Yeah,
of
religion
it
and
all,
culture
and
overall.
overall.
Yeah.
So what happened is you have this thing called hip hop that was birthed, and it was birthed from black people for black people, and it was a start of our culture. Like, one of the things I was saying early on in my career was that I was a hip hop American, and it was like because hip hop has become the black culture, like that's what it is. Here's the difference though. The thing with the N word is when hip hop uses the N word in music, it's not talking to anybody but black people. But we don't have our own language. When you listen to Spanish music, you don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
You're just listening to it because you
yeah,
don't know the language.
yeah.
If you took the time to learn the language and that would require respect because you're dedicating your time to do it,
Yeah.
you'd know what they're saying and you'd understand, like, oh, okay, this is how they're saying it. You laugh, you cry, whatever it
Yeah.
is, but you know that it's for that culture and for that community,
Mhm.
and they enjoy it. The pass that they get is that we don't understand it. Black people have been forced to grow up to speak the same language as the rest of Americans. We don't have our own language.
Yeah.
So when we're speaking to black people, everyone thinks that we're speaking to them. So we aren't speaking to them. The N word being used in black music or by NWA and all these people, it was talking to black people. It wasn't talking to white people. Whether they enjoyed it or not,
Yeah.
it wasn't talking to them.
Yeah.
So in them enjoying it, they're like, wait, why can't I say it? Because I'm enjoying it. I'm being brought up by this. And if we had our own language as Black people that we can communicate with our own kind with, like how Asians do, and like how, Latinx and Hispanics do,
Yeah.
and anyone else, we wouldn't run into this issue, because it would only be given to Black people in that way. And when we made music for the masses, it would be different.
Mhm.
But because we had no one else that we can talk to, and because the music that we were making was for Black people and it got elevated to the point of it being so popular,
Yeah.
The things that we experience got elevated as well and got incorporated into this American culture when it's not. It's Black culture, and that's why you have people that are culture vultures, and you have people who come into the game, like even like Eminem. I was watching like Eminem accept an award the other day, and he had a do-rag on, and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, he would never be able to get away with doing that,
No.
now.
Yeah.
Not at all. But we accepted it because he was talented and he respected the culture enough to surround himself with people who
He grew
vouch
up
for
in
him.
it a lot too.
And he grew up in it a
Yeah.
lot. But in all honesty, it wasn't talking to him.
Yeah.
It wasn't talking to him.
There's
And
different history.
a lot of the Black music, a lot of the Black language is encoded in Black music. So people who enjoy Black music, they need to understand that it is for Black people. And if you enjoy it, that's great. I enjoy Spanish songs that I hear all the time. There's like that one that and it's just like cracking, like do uno dos tres cuatro. Like, I love that song.
Yeah.
And anytime that it's at a party, I'm going crazy. Suavemente, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem to like that song, but I'm not gonna be over here, unless I invest in learning the language and understanding the culture, in trying to like add to that or say like, oh man,
Or do that
same thing or include it in my music or anything like that, especially if it's not correct, and that's the problem, is that you have all of these people who haven't invested in learning about Black culture, in Black community, and understanding our plights, the reasons why we say things, the reason why we do things. And they're benefiting off of saying the N-word because they had a Black friend, or growing up in a certain neighborhood that if they could, they wouldn't want to. They would want to go someplace else.
Yeah.
They had to. So they grew up in it. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I hope that you took time to understand and reflect and respect the culture that raised you, and that saved you from you not being able to be yourself or not understanding what's going on. But ultimately, you're not supposed to use the N-word, because Black people have been robbed all our lives, all our ancestry within this country. We don't own anything, barely anything. And we took a word that was used against us, made it a positive, and now you want to use it also? Like,
Interesting. Yeah.
you should just allow us to have something that we can say to one another that means something to us, that in all honesty, we would prefer not even to say to each other if we want to get really real.
Yeah.
We just want to be able to talk to each other without everyone in our business, and other cultures are afforded that,
Yeah.
and the Black culture isn't.
Yeah.
So that's like the big issue with the N-word, is that, a lot of like white people or even Hispanic people or Asian people, it doesn't matter wherever they grow up, everybody who says it, they don't understand that it's just not for you. And you have an advantage. You have your own culture that you can tap into to have these same conversations and to have these words that you can feel prideful in and feel powerful with. And Black people had to take a word that was used against them.
Yeah,
that's all we got.
And it meant, sorry for my language, it meant you're subhuman and retarded. That's what it was used for.
There you go. That you were an idiot, and
yeah.
So it's like we took that and literally flipped it.
Yeah.
Just for our own mental health.
Said, screw you guys. We're not going to deal with this.
For our own mental health, of saying, oh, you think that we're that? All right, we're going to show you what this is. And in doing that, there's a pride that comes with it, but it is based from a mental health issue. We should have never been called it.
Yeah.
We should never, it should never be associated at all. But at least we have something.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why Black people get so mad when other people use it even casually. forget if you're using it to me in a derogatory way. You're about to catch this fade for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
But even when you're using it casually, it just doesn't sit well because you're just like, it's another thing. It's
Yeah.
another thing that's taken from
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And as long as we're in the position that we're in, we're always going to feel that way.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up like black Americans not having like their own culture, because you know there's Asian Americans, there's Latina Americans, you know, all of that, and they have if you think about it, that ancestry connection to like Mexico, maybe Portugal, or you know, France, whatever it is. So for me personally, I've said this before, is that I've never really been like, I've really been disappointed in the fact that as a man who's like, I'm a mutt, I have so much different culture, you know, within my DNA, but we don't practice it like at my family's house. There's not that rich thing. And it surprises me because I know that's prevalent in many American homes.
Like where's your ancestry from?
I got German, Russian, Portuguese, what else? Irish.
So with all of that, you have clothes, you have music, you have culture, you have colors, you have holidays, you have traditions.
Yeah.
All of those things that you can literally tap into to create what you want to create.
That's why I want to do that ancestry thing, dude. I want to see, because I'm curious. I want my daughter to get that aspect of like, hey, like, maybe not everybody else is practicing all these things, but like, this is the people where you came from. Like, we came here because World War II was going on. All my family from Germany, because was a bad guy in power. So we were like, get the hell out.
Yeah. And with that, you know, I'm fortunate enough because my parents are from Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, nice.
So
That's
I'm
crazy.
Caribbean, you know, like both of them are from there. So I have a culture that I can tap
That's
into. We
awesome.
have soca music. We have our own instruments, the steel pan, you know, which I'm working on learning and adding to the music.
Dude, those are crazy.
They're amazing. It's like one of the newest instruments, like newest created instrument, like that isn't like a variation of something else before. It's like it's its own
entity.
It's its own thing. Yeah. And that was in the 70s, you know, and it was made from oil drums, you know, because we had a lot of oil and they were just drums that were laying around. And when you beat them enough, the octaves change and people started figuring out like, oh, well, if I beat it like this and I beat it like that, I can do this and I can start playing it. And so I'm lucky enough to have a culture, and I'm so, so thankful for my parents, for my mom and my dad for instilling in me at a young age, you know, what my culture is about and bringing me around family at that time. I don't have an accent because I chose hip hop as my accent. You know, but I could have had a Caribbean accent. I could have, you know, really, really brought that. And I want to pass that on to my children. I want to make sure that they know, you know, like you don't just have to carry the American flag. Like you can carry the Trinidad flag. Like you have property out there. You have family out there. Like, let me introduce you to these people. Like learn the culture, learn the language. And I'm trying to do that too. Like of just learning more of my language
about
and
yourself,
about myself. You know, and understanding like, yo, this is what happened. And now Trinidad has its own history of like how slaves got there. It wasn't just, you know, but
every place has its own crazy different past. I mean, the thing is we're all human beings. We've all made the histories, and there was a time period where slavery was the biggest thing. Everybody was doing it, and now we know obviously it's wrong. So but we look back and you can't forget history. That's the interesting thing, is that you can't forget it. You got to say, hey, we did this has happened, and you need to understand that people don't forget.
History repeats itself.
And history repeats itself.
There you go. We bring it back full circle.
Yeah.
You know, what we were talking about.
And that's the thing that has been prevalent lately. I don't know if you've seen it. I see it recently, especially with the political side of things. Is like, I see like, oh, well, history is repeating itself.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that they're trying to push, or they're like, oh, we'll just use it from the last time.
Yeah.
And we'll push this, you know, and it's their political campaigns and this and that. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know, I didn't think that I would like learning about fascism in history and then living through something that could potentially be that is crazy to me. Like, I thought we were past this. I thought we learned how this ends, you know, but we're trying so hard to fight each other and to limit some sort of, you know, authoritarian type of, you know, thing, or trying to, you know, work our democracy, that we're going to end up being in a dictatorship. We're going to end up being in
giving up
in
our
a
rights.
hierarchy, you know, giving up our rights. We're going to end up being where a family is in charge
Yep, of the entire
of the
country.
entire country, and now we have a problem.
Back where we started, way back when they were like everything happened with America.
And that's my whole thing with like a lot of the people who support Trump and everything like that. It's like, if you're really patriotic and you're really American and you understand how the history happened of, you know, your ancestors fleeing the UK, fleeing Spain, fleeing all these places
Mhm.
to come here because they didn't want the hierarchy.
Yep.
And you're telling me after 300 or so years, we're right back?
Yeah.
Like, how could you support that? Like,
Be
that's
like-
crazy. Yeah, exactly. Good job.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just crazy. I think everyone needs some healing. I think that there's a lot of growth that is required and a lot of empathy, and we need to understand each other's stories, and we need to validate each other's feelings and each other's stories,
Mhm.
and we need to help each other grow to past the point of needing of being so needy over our ego and over like our sense of self and our worth. You know, everyone is worthy, everyone is valuable, everyone brings something to the table, and you have a purpose. You know, God has given you a purpose, and you have a promise that He's kept for you as long as you are doing the things that you need to do to learn about yourself
Mhm.
and affirm those things and bring it to the forefront. Then you're going to be straight, you know, and you're going to add to this society in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I told myself, if I'm going to do music, I have to add in a positive way. That's the only way that I'm going to do it. And if it takes me to arenas, wonderful. If it doesn't, then I just know that I did my part, you know,
Yeah.
and I influenced the people that I got to influence, who came to my shows, who were, you know, took time out of their day to listen to my lyrics and to, you know, hopefully help them open their mind to either becoming a better person, or, you know, wanting to start a dialogue or a conversation,
Yeah.
or calling a loved one or anything like that.
Yeah.
Any one of those things to me is valuable. It doesn't matter the amount.
Yeah.
And I'm you know, I'm appreciative, and it's a blessing for that. Anyway.
Definitely. And it shows in your music, man. Throughout, I mean, every album, every track, you back your word up. That's for sure.
Thank you, man.
Spreading that positivity and that love aspect, instead of it being negative and, you know, this or that, you know, especially in this time of how everything is, where everything's just like right in your face,
Mhm.
pushed in front of your face. That is very negative.
Mhm.
All of our news is all about death
Mhm.
and everything negative.
I never understood that. I never understood how the news was 90% negative information.
Yep.
Like, I don't know who decided that, oh, we get more viewership if it's negative. Like, what? You kidding me? Like, absolutely not. Like, I guarantee if you start throwing some positive things and making people, like, real positive things, not just some, you know, for show, you know, like
facade.
Yeah,
thing,
no.
Smoke
But
and
real
mirrors.
positivity, doing the work, because you got to find it. You got to find the positivity.
Yeah.
It's not just out there
Not
you
gonna
know,
walk up to your
it's
door.
not gonna
and
walk up
give
to
it-
your door.
yeah.
No. So you
Definitely
have
not.
to find it. So if you're actually doing your job to find it and promoting that and showing that, then I think that that we would just be better off.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
we'd be better off. Yeah, there will still be some people who will feel negative and who will feel like it's not happening to them, but our approach to correcting them will be different. It wouldn't be matched
Mhm.
with negativity.
Yeah.
It would be matched with positivity, and be matched with love.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can bring all that negative over here, but I'm gonna hit you in the sledgehammer with love.
Yeah.
You about to get this sledgehammer of love. Like, it's gonna hit you like a Mack truck, like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where the term "kill 'em with kindness" comes from. And it doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that, like, it's so much courage and
Yeah.
strength to be able to be nice to your enemy, to understand that they actually aren't your enemy, you know,
Yeah.
and that your influence could diffuse a potential volatile situation.
Yeah.
So,
And
I think the issue really with us as people is like, it's not bad to disagree on things. It's more the fact that like we can't have an open conversation about it and
Mhm.
see the
Yeah.
other side.
mm-hmm.
It's just this is my thought.
Yeah.
This is it. It's all there is.
Well, people think so lowly of themselves that they're like, if they're wrong,
then
how could I have missed it? How could I have been wrong? Like,
yeah.
no. I have to justify it in this sort of way. And we saw that with, everything that happened recently with George Floyd. Like there were a
Mhm.
lot of people who were like,
Well,
how
he's
could I
done
have,
this.
yeah.
It's like, well, what happens when you serve? I thought the whole point, if we're talking about what jail is supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to rehabilitate.
Mhm.
Supposed to. We know it doesn't. It's an ass backwards system we have.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to rehabilitate. So you're
It's just
telling me,
slavery again.
yeah, exactly. Just putting you back in the system. Hey, we'll see you back in a couple months.
Yeah, well, when people get paid with how many people are in a prison, then
How many
then we
heads
have a
got in
problem.
here?
Then we
Yeah.
have a problem.
Yep, exactly. So
Yeah.
when you come into those like aspects of that already, we're already headed.
Mm-hmm.
We're already going the wrong direction
Already.
in so many different ways.
And it's like a lot of people when it was happening, a lot of like white people would reach out to me like as just friends. They're like, I'm sorry, like, is there anything you need? Is there
Interesting.
and it's because their guilt was kicking in where they felt, how could I have missed all of this
whole
going
thing?
on? How could I have not known that this is what was happening in our society and I'm just living carefree? And they
Yeah.
don't understand that someone like me has to think consciously about what I do, how I do it, and when I do it, every step that I take, and everywhere that I go, every time I step out the door of my house.
Yeah.
And that other Black families and minority families are taught this when they're young as well, because their parents have gone through it.
Yeah.
So a lot of them were hitting me up and were like, yo, is there anything you need? Like, I just want to say, I'm sorry. They may remember like something that happened before, and they like
They didn't
bring
say
that
something
up.
or-
Yeah,
yeah.
and they just bring it up, and on one point, like I understand, and I'm thankful that you understand this, but it doesn't make you a bad person. Like this
Yeah.
system was built to affect you too.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't just like that. It was, we were the receivers of the
The
system.
blunt force at the end of it. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the system was put up to deceive the people who are in this country to think that this country is immaculate
Yeah.
and perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want a perfect country. You want a country that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And it's
Yeah.
okay to acknowledge that we're not
Yeah.
there yet.
We're so young
yeah.
as like just a nation. We're the youngest nation as far as size and
Yeah.
per
And
capita
mass,
people.
for sure.
We're the youngest. We have
Yeah.
no clue.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
it's-
we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we're trying to figure it out, that's okay. We can give grace,
Yeah.
to things like that. But when you purposely try to ignore it, purposely try to justify something else, and you're just afraid to have the responsibility
Yeah.
of making the change, that's where we run into a little problem.
Yeah.
That's where it's a little bit of contention. And
Yeah.
that's where like it's people like you don't need to be in my life if you're gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Like,
So spread
know,
that
yeah,
vibe and
yeah.
that
It's like
energy.
you can go someplace else and figure that out, because I also humbly know that I'm not always the person to educate someone on that.
Yeah.
I may not be the person that can jog your
That can
memory
open
to
your eyes
exactly.
in that way.
Exactly.
You might have some other experience that's going to get you to
Something
that
that's
point.
going to
Yeah.
get you there,
Yeah.
and that's okay. I don't want you to take space up in my life to prevent you from having that experience, because you're going to need that,
Yeah.
in order to, and when you do have it,
Yeah.
come talk to me.
Yeah.
And I've had wonderful conversations with people who done their due diligence and like started doing the research after it happened.
Yeah.
And they were like, bro, I had no idea this
Yeah.
was going on. Like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, like, this is what's been happening, but it's cool though. Like, I appreciate you
Having the understanding.
having the understanding,
doing the research.
doing the research. Now we can have conversations, and now I can look
Yeah.
at you as an ally. I can look at you as somebody who, understands me a little bit more,
Yeah.
so I can be a little bit more of myself around
Yeah.
you. And that's really
Yeah.
what it comes down to. And that's a part of empathizing with people and empathizing with humanity and us. That's part of that harmony.
Yeah.
One of the cool things in Trinidad is that they celebrate everyone's holiday.
That's rad.
Even if
That's
you
very,
don't-
that's actually very Buddhist.
Yeah. It's like,
Very Buddhist. Interesting.
even if you aren't from that culture, you're getting the day off.
That's cool.
But like for the right reasons
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
like
yeah.
like you're celebrating it,
Because
you're partaking in it.
okay, hey, like say like you're like, oh dude, no way, you're Jewish. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Let's
Like,
celebrate it. Let's have a good time.
why don't we celebrate
Yeah.
Hanukkah?
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah, like,
You know what I mean?
dude, let's go over to so-and-so's house. Let's celebrate Hanukkah.
Let's
That'd be
do it.
so fun.
You know what I mean? Chinese New Year.
Oh,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and
it would bring a
and
lot more community and
For sure.
like collectivistic
absolutely.
aspect.
You know, Kwanzaa, let's do it,
Dude.
you know? And like that was something that was created here. Like Black African Americans
Yeah.
were like, we got to create something that at least comes back to our culture,
Yeah.
you know? And I didn't grow up celebrating Kwanzaa, but recently I was asked to speak on one of the tenets of Kwanzaa, so I had to do my research.
Yeah.
And I got to do that, and it was an amazing event put on by Shara Swodek, who she's running actually for council member
Where at?
in Pomona.
In Pomona. Okay.
Yeah, in
Oh, yeah.
Pomona. Yeah, she's running for this election. So yeah, you can take this as a formal endorsement.
Yeah,
Definitely,
there we
she's
go.
for the community. She
Nice.
like her husband Josh Swodek is a person that I've grown up knowing.
Nice.
They're a
That's
great
always cool that
family.
you can like kind of see someone in that light going into that direction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're like, I know them.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
like-
know they're like real and legit and
Mhm.
they're doing what they're doing.
yeah. And they as a family have done so much for the city of Pomona. They had an art gallery. They help with the art walk, and
Yeah.
they have, they've been involved in, mayors being elected. They've been involved in just different art committees within the city of Pomona. So, shout out Shara. But yeah, they reached out to me last year to do a Kwanzaa event at the Fairplex.
How was that? How did that feel? How was that like energy and everything? At
It
that
was
event?
it was really, really cool, man, because it
Yeah.
was before COVID.
Yeah.
So we were all out and it
Yeah.
was fine. And we had a decent turnout. And it was just amazing that I never like celebrated Kwanzaa. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, like I believe in all of their ideals. Like I understand, the different ways that they're trying to connect. It's about unity. It's about, community and
Mhm.
all these other things. And I was like, why don't I celebrate this all the time?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't do it. There's nothing negative.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
There's nothing negative about it. Why don't I celebrate this? So this year I'm going to be celebrating Kwanzaa, and
Hell
I'm going
yeah.
to continue to celebrate Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa
Nice.
isn't even something that's part of the Trinidadian culture, but I feel as respecting the African Americans and the Black Americans that are here, I'm going to celebrate that
Yeah.
with them,
Yeah, why not?
and there's a few artists that also celebrate it, and when I did it, they reached out to me, and we got to have a good
You get that
conversation about it.
connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was very new, I was very green at it, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't know about this, just
That's
because I'm
nice.
Black, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I really had to learn, and there's still a lot for me to learn. I'm not an expert at all,
Mhm.
but I appreciate being invited into that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Feeling
And
that love and that. Hey
Absolutely.
man, like come explore.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
feel like, especially with America, our holidays are fucked.
Dude, they're so weird.
They've been fucked for a long
But,
time.
and then the worst thing is like me personally, like people ask me about Thanksgiving, like what? Hey,
Mhm.
I'm like, dude, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because like me personally, I know what it originally came from.
Mm-hmm.
I know people say, oh, it's not a big deal, it's whatever, but it's like if you think about it, it's about the massacre of a whole group of people.
Yes.
So yeah, we maybe sat down at some point and wrote a sham contract, like we talked about.
Yeah. And ate food. But the thing is that, like, okay, you want family to be together, right?
Let's flip it.
Everybody wants family to be together.
Yeah.
There's no one arguing
Yeah.
that family being together on Thanksgiving is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, why are we doing it on that date? Why are we doing it under these kinds of pretenses of pilgrims and Indians?
yeah.
Let's squash all of that.
Yeah.
Call it a family day. Come
Yeah.
up with something. We're the ultimate marketers.
Yeah.
America will come up with
Yeah.
something that we would all be like, oh yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Even if it's still like Thanksgiving, if they just stick with the give, like be thankful for what you have in your life, and stick with that prime objective instead of pointing it back to some other like back in history, this and that.
yeah, but it's good to acknowledge that history, but let's just create something different
Yeah.
so it doesn't have to be attached like
Yeah.
that. And then acknowledge what happened during those times, during
Yeah.
that time. So it doesn't have to be a celebratory thing.
Yeah.
It's actually a solemn
It's
day.
it's a solemn, but it's a bringing together with that solemnness.
It turns it into Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And
we
it's
all
like,
come together and we have remorse for the situation that happened, but it brings people together because we all have a common.
there we go.
emotion.
And the thing is that America refuses to be honest. They refuse to be honest about what they've done to get to where they are
Yeah.
and how they continue to perpetuate that. And they just want to put band-aids on it and they want to dress it up differently. And they think that we're all stupid,
Yeah.
you know? And because of that, it's getting to the point where it's like, we're not fucking with you anymore. Like, this just isn't going to
And
work.
it's very much, it's interesting to see. It's like a lot of the generation of the millennial generation is, we're all like, dude, we're not down.
No.
Like, it's kind of, we've seen it all play out. We've
Yep.
been through no internet.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through the flip phones. We've gotten the smartphones. We have social media rise, all these different things. We know, we've seen it.
We've seen it.
So like, you can't play the game anymore.
Yeah. So a lot of people, you know, this isn't going to continue. Like what we have going on in our political climate, that's why Donald Trump is so desperate, because he wants to lock in
That
a certain type of people to continue so that it can fester, so that it can, you know,
Continue
happen
on,
later,
yeah.
you know, but our young generation isn't playing that shit.
Yeah.
They're not playing that shit no more.
No.
Like, we aren't going to have older candidates because these 15, you know, 14-year-olds, when they become 18 in the next 4 years, they're not voting for that.
Yeah.
They're like, nah.
Yeah, I don't, some old guy. Dude,
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more well-versed in what's going on in their society because we all have equal access to the internet, or at least we hope that we do.
Yeah.
You know, there are other restrictions, and that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But, you know, we hope that we can have access to the same information. And when we have access to the same information, we can be informed and we can make better decisions.
Yes.
And prior to this, we didn't all have access to the same information, you know? And now that we do, and we're learning, this is what Thanksgiving is about. This is what Christmas is about. This is what, you know, some of these Groundhog Day, like Valentine, like all these
how
other
they
things.
originated and why they were created.
Columbus Day, fuck Columbus, you know?
Fuck
like,
it, dude, he wasn't even the dude. He wasn't even the guy who first did it.
He wasn't even the guy.
Yeah, he wasn't even the guy.
He's a fraud, fam. Like, you telling me you putting up statues for a fraud? Get the fuck out of here. Like,
and you're
that's
gonna
just,
try and like back that up. Like, he was on, we have proof that he literally wasn't the first one.
He wasn't the guy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up. He was a terrible person. He should not be celebrated in America if we value this. And then he was like that.
Yeah. And we came away from what he was all about. We left that.
Exactly. So that is just, it's ridiculous to me that we as an American society, I mean, it may sound radical, but a lot of, like, it's going to happen eventually because, again, the people who are patriotic, who are America is everything, they are still alive.
Yeah.
They are our elders. They are the, you know, the 50 to 80-year-olds that
and
are
it's
around.
nothing against them. It's just that if you're going to be closed-minded, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact if you're being closed-minded in these age groups, it happens a lot. You get locked in.
Yeah. And the thing is that just because you're up in age doesn't determine like who you have to be. We always grow. Going back to our growth thing, like, you can be 80 and still learn new things. You don't have to be set in your ways.
And that's a very American societal thing that we've input, that as you get older, you just deteriorate. You can't learn more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, we've made fun of it. We've put videos, we've done movies, we've done all these other things. We have the senile old man on the porch, and we've propped that caricature up that we look down on our old people now, where it's like, nah, you get out of it. But then the old people kind of play into it, where they're like, I'm old, I'm not gonna change, you know? And it's like,
you know?
and it's like, fam, if you were taking care of your body, if you were taking care of your mind, if you were, you know, setting your family up in the right ways, and you didn't have all these regrets, you'd actually be a decent person, you know, and understanding like what's happening. I saw this old couple today when I went to go bike ride, and, you know, I got a new bike. So now biking is like my thing now. I'm super hyped. But he had, like, you know, his knee pads on, elbow pads on, helmet and everything, but they had an electric bike.
Nice.
And I was like, you know, I rode past and I was just like, man, I'm trying to get like you. And he was just like, I'm trying to get like you. And I was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he's trying to get onto the regular bike again of using his body. It's just, you know, he's old, so he's going to get the electric one right now and work his way up to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had like a great passerby conversation. And he was just like, you want to try it? You want to try it? And this is like old white guy. And I was just like, nah, you know, I'm on the way, but like, I appreciate you. Thank you. And all this other stuff. And we're going. And it's just like, look, like, just because you're old doesn't mean that you have to give up. Doesn't mean that you have to like not care anymore. If anything, you should, like, you've worked so hard to get to where you're at right now. You should be caring like about what's going on. You know what I mean? Instead of just giving up. And That's what I would hope for our political, group and our politics in the society, but
Yeah.
it's not operating like that,
Yeah.
and they're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
Like after this election, I'm promising you, like
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It's not gonna
I
be-
feel like either way it goes.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't-
matter
I
either
don't
way.
really think it matters.
Either way,
'Cause I
either
feel
way
like
it goes,
people-
it'll never happen again.
People are starting to realize like it's not a big deal. They're like, okay, cool, the president, whatever. But there's other people that are behind the president. They're making the shots.
Yes.
And a lot of people know that now.
Yep.
So they're saying like, dude,
Yeah,
get out of here.
we got to get those people out of there,
Yeah.
and all these people that don't have term limits in
Yep.
your community. You have mayors, you have congressmen, you have councilmen, you have people who are in charge of how your community runs.
Yeah.
Your chief of police, you're all these things. Like you need to know who they are, and if they aren't doing the things that they need to, or they aren't supporting the community in the way that they need to, then they don't deserve to be in that position.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like they aren't born into that position. These cops aren't born to be cops.
Yeah.
No, you chose that profession.
Yeah. You chose to go that route.
And that's a super hard profession.
the
to have.
hardest thing to do.
Super difficult because you are dealing with people, you're dealing with mental things, you're dealing with psyche, and you have this power.
Mhm.
And that is just, if you
It's
aren't
very
the right
delicate.
person,
It's
super delicate.
And that line is so hard to walk on.
Absolutely. And you have to be almost so selfless in order to have that kind of job.
Yep.
But you have all these people that are like, I just want to come back home to my family.
Yep.
And it's like, fam, if you pick protect and serve, I'm sorry, but
You gotta
you're
understand.
the first in line to go
Yeah.
if something happens.
Yeah.
And that's that, and we honor you because of that.
Yeah.
We respect you because of
You
that.
chose that path for
Exactly.
us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you aren't going to honor that, and if you aren't going to respect that,
Yep.
then I have nothing to say to you. You're just
You're just doing it because you think whatever.
a legal gangster.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all that you are.
Yeah.
And that's all that you're doing. And it's just unfortunate because the training that's required to do that is just it's
Immense. Other countries do way more.
I mean, it's just
Mhm.
minimal in our country.
Yeah, very, 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 very minimal. It's I think it's 6 to 9 months. I think 6 months in training or 9 months in training, and then you go on a patrol with another officer, and
Like-
then after that, then you go on yourself. by
Honestly, like it's to the point where it's like, do I want to dedicate my next 2 years just to become a cop, just to understand what they do, and then leave? Like after, like it's one of those things where
Yeah.
it's like it's so minimal that I could just go and do it.
Yeah,
Anybody can just
there's
go
a
and
lot
do
of
it.
people who just say like, "I'm gonna do it because I know they pay and they'll pay for college." And
Yeah.
they'll do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well there's a bunch of people who they join the army because of that.
Yeah.
They join the police force, the firefighters
Yep.
because of that. And I get it. Get it how you live, be in that situation. But if you aren't mentally there, like the job is too important.
Yeah,
You are to
even
protect and serve.
grinding at your soul. These jobs.
Yes.
What you see, what you
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
I'll
Now
pull
you
it-
think that everybody is like what you see on a day-to-day basis.
Yep. I can
And-
fully adhere that my stepdad,
Mhm.
he's a police officer.
Mhm.
My mom is a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
They both come home and watch like True Life on the ER, Cops, First 48, all the murder shows, everything that has to do with anything of their job. So they come home and live their job.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it
think
just-
that's insane.
It is insane, and it just cycles through what can possibly happen. So now when your stepdad is on the job,
Yeah.
he's thinking about something that happened on First 48. Oh, this is a similar experience,
Situation.
and an overreaction could occur,
Mhm.
or an underreaction could
Yeah.
occur. There's all these different things, and
Yeah.
it's like I hope that he is in it for the right reasons and doing it the way that
That's the interesting thing
Hopefully
about
it's
out
great.
there, though. It's different. It's a beach
Mhm.
town, Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Small.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very like low class if you
Mhm.
think about it. Yes, there are homeless people and stuff, but
Mhm.
it's not nearly like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And
you
the
know?
LA County is ginormous.
Yeah.
So, and having a police force that goes along with that,
Mm-hmm.
it's so split up. They
Mhm.
don't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
They are not living in the communities which and they
Mhm.
are protecting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
you
they're
have
taking money out of the communities. It
Yeah.
goes back to the economics
Yep.
too, because you have these cops that are getting paid. They don't live in the communities. They don't know who's around. They
Yep.
don't know the names of the people who own the different, restaurants, stores,
Yeah.
everything like that that's there. So they treat everybody like an enemy.
Yeah.
And it becomes a problem.
everybody. The
Everyone.
implicit bias. They'll just assume.
Everybody.
It's happened to me multiple times because my age and my height and my size. I have tattoos and I look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
it's been pressed upon me before where I get questioned
Yeah.
very, very diligently. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm just standing here.
Yeah.
I'm cooperating with everything you're saying. Chill.
Yeah. And they can go home and take their uniform off.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't have to do that. You
Yeah.
can literally find another job.
Yeah.
It is not
You have a choice.
required.
You have a
You have a
choice.
full choice.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice to look the way that I look.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
and that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, so all these people that are blue lives, all this other stuff, lives are sacred.
Yeah.
However, that is ridiculous. You know,
It's a form of nationalism with a different, almost tribalistic nature and going in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It's not real.
Yeah.
You know, and these people want to justify and make it real. Same thing with all lives matter. That's a given.
Yeah.
Like nobody's saying,
everybody
like,
knows that.
everyone
Everybody
knows that.
matters.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was,
And
believe it was Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah?
Yeah,
What'd he
on
say?
Saturday Night Live, I believe.
What'd he
or
say?
Yeah.
on his show, maybe that he said, "We're not saying Black Lives Matter more.
Yeah.
We're just saying they
We're just saying
matter.
they matter."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
He
Hannibal
said it
Buress.
so well. He was
Yeah.
on stage and I was like, yo, this guy just preached,
Yeah.
bro. He just said exactly what I was thinking.
Hannibal Buress came out with a stand-up, routine about that. And he was like, not saying, matters more,
Yeah.
not saying it just matters.
It just matters.
Like, and from a civil way,
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
just matter.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
And you got to have understanding that
Yeah.
in our history of America, that that culture has been pushed down.
There
and-
it is.
And culturally appropriated.
There it is. So it's like, if you believe that we matter, it's okay. Like you
Yeah.
can say it. You can say Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you feel that way and then we present evidence that has proven that our lives don't matter, then you should be for the cause. But what happened is this all gets politicized.
Yeah.
You got all these different factions of Black Lives Matter and people
Antifa.
and
Antifa, yeah.
which doesn't even like, it's an idea, but it doesn't even like
Correctly
exist. It correctly exists.
exhibit that nature of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's
Antifa's supposed to be like, we're freedom of the people. They skew it in a very negative.
Well, on top of that, it's
way.
anti-fascist.
Yeah.
So you should be anti-fascist. Like
Yeah.
everybody should be anti-fascist.
Yeah. I think,
You
I
know?
hope.
And, I would hope. I would
Yeah.
hope that they're like anti-fascism, because that's not what we want here in America.
Yeah, no.
So
I hope nobody wants fascism.
now I'm not saying that we have to be in some anarchy or
Yeah.
anything like that. That's not what, that's not what's going on. But
Yeah.
people are just so, on extremes.
Yeah. I
And
got to go this way or
or
this way.
all the way.
Yeah.
I got to turn all the way left, or I got to turn all the way right. And
yep.
it's like, there's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Man. Like there's like, the more you know, the more you understand that there's a spectrum of thinking and ways of being, and the extreme on both ends is a no-no.
Yeah.
Like that's not what we're trying to do.
Definitely.
We're not trying to burn down our home,
Yeah.
that we have.
Hit the turn
But-
at like 160 degrees.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yes.
Just slightly.
Just slightly.
Any-
just a little
either
bit.
way.
Either way, literally, people are over here doing complete 180s on
Yeah,
each side, and
yep.
it's like, whoa, fam,
Yeah.
just give me a 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Look at 2
It's
o'clock.
okay.
You know,
it's
like
all right to be like, oh, you're right. You know.
Yeah, you like-
you don't have to be like 100 the whole time.
100%. And because they have this echo chamber, they really are on this like us versus them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing like photos of people, they're like ripping up their mail-in ballots. They're like, no, vote in person. Like trying to like, it's like, fam, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Like-
they're trying to tell you in a certain way to force you to.
We've always had the option.
Yeah.
Since you've always had the option.
Yeah.
If you want to vote by mail, go ahead.
Yeah.
Vote by mail.
If you don't want to,
If you don't want to, well, you could just walk up and vote.
Yeah.
I personally feel like we should be able to text and vote,
Yeah.
or like be able to do it electronically.
because of the times.
Yes.
It's we're way past.
But the problem is that the integrity is what's in question.
yeah.
And America has not set the right precedent of saying we are going to be honest so that you can be honest.
Yeah.
America has said, we are going to create an enemy, and we're teaching you how to create an enemy, because America's great at creating
Oh,
enemies.
so easy.
I was
The-
watching this Canadian woman on Twitter.
Hmm.
She was explaining how, like, in Canada, like, you're automatically just registered.
There you go.
If you move, they just register you at your new address.
Yeah.
They just do it.
It's
Interesting.
not like an issue, like it shouldn't be bigger than what it is. You should exercise your right to
Yeah.
vote.
I have a question for you. What do you think about so personally I've had my run in with the law previously in my life, you know. Uh and if you get a felony, you can't vote, right? I had this conversation with my wife the other day, how I told her, I was like, I don't completely agree with that because it's supposed to be rehabilitation. And when you come out, you're still a human being. You're still a person. And if you've served your time appropriately and done your dues, then why wouldn't you be able to vote?
Absolutely.
Well, I believe it was Florida who just passed a law allowing like 10,000 or so felons to vote.
Really? That's rad.
Yeah, I think
Because for me, it would be more of a thing of like, if it's really a concern for those people that are like really worried about their decision making, then make it a thing of like, instead of making it a negative thing for after you get out of jail and having a parole officer, being like, hey man, you committed a felony, you took away someone else's rights at some point. You have to earn yours back. So you need to work within your community and show us a resume over these 6 months since you being out of jail that you get that back, man. You know, that's real rehabilitation.
There you go.
That's getting.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think that's great. I've never been on the side of people who have served their time not being able to contribute back into society. Because then what's the point?
That's counterintuitive.
Yeah, well, it's just like, what was the point of having them serve the time? You might as well have just like killed them or like shipped them off or anything
Put
like
them
that.
somewhere else.
Put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if they did what they did and then they, went through the punishment of that, came out of that punishment in the right way, then they should be able to vote.
100%.
Like they're still affected by what's going
They
on.
They have to
here.
live back in the society, and if anything, it's harder to come back up. And
but then it just adds the reason why is because America doesn't want people to have information. They don't want you to know because then you affect things.
Because if you've been to jail, you know how it affects people, and you're gonna spread that. Because like me and Mike personally have had an encounter with that, and I've seen it personally, and it's not good.
Dude, I watched a dude have a seizure on the floor of a jail cell for an hour before anyone came to check on him.
There's a guy ODing.
That's a human being.
Yeah.
No matter what he did, like he's still a human being.
Well, because the exchange has already been made. He's already been paid for. So now that he's been paid for, then
you have to pay to stay in jail. Like personally pay. It's $40 a day.
Well, not only that, but the people who
depending on where you are, obviously,
they get paid also on the amount of heads.
On the amount of heads, on the amount of people. Like, so that transaction has already happened. So because that transaction already happened from the jump, they have no incentive to make sure that this person is ready or fit to go back out in the world.
Yeah, and
if anything, they want them not to be fit so that they can come back and they can make another transaction.
Yeah.
And that's like the problem, it's like, it's
a number and it's that, like you said, transaction. It's a business transaction.
It's a business transaction.
About a human life.
Yes.
So it's interesting that we don't, in other countries that they look at it in a different way and people are like, well, they did something bad. It's like, but what if when they were a kid, they didn't get the right, something or other. Maybe someone wasn't there and they didn't get that. And then if we introduce these things into their lives again, they'll make that connection with their brain.
Well, it's always been about circumstance. Criminals do crime. There's a small amount of criminals that do crime because they hate like people or they hate their life or they hate
the sociopathic tendencies.
Now those people exist.
Yes.
However, that amount is so small compared to the people who commit crimes because they're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
That they're like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I'm in this situation. I got to steal this. I got to do that.
Yep.
And if their situation wasn't like that, they probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And if they, not saying that what they did was right, however, there is room for rehabilitation from somebody who steals a jacket or who, ends up, I don't know, committing some other crime or whatever. Murder is interesting because the motives, I think, define, what's going on. But then also it's kind of like once you've done something like that, I don't know what it does to your psyche as far as like
as a person
and what you've seen and what you're able to do
and capable of now.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think overall, majority of people that are in these prisons and that are in, that are criminals are just tied to things that they didn't have anything to do with, or what they didn't necessarily like harm, harm another
yeah.
human being in that point.
Stealing.
I would say
Murder, rape, those things, you're
done.
Yeah,
dude.
you're done. You're getting put away. Sorry.
You already took someone's life away.
Pedophilia, sorry.
Yeah.
You're anything that is about another human being and like doing
Their
that in their
livelihood.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, their day-to-day life.
Sorry, you're gone.
Yeah, it's
but
over.
You stealing from a store, you getting parking tickets or driving crazy,
Yeah.
or like, fighting for your life, or
Drugs, if you have an
drugs,
addiction.
yeah, drugs, like that's not the way.
Yeah.
That's not the way.
at least half of the people I was in, like when I went to jail, at least half the people were there for suspended license, driving on a suspended license, or
That's funny.
missed child support payments that they couldn't pay because they'd already been to jail for missing child support payments,
Hmm.
and they couldn't get a job because they'd been to jail for missing child support payments.
There you go. It's a vicious
What kind of
cycle.
logic is that?
Zero.
Well, it's a loop.
Yep.
It's an easy way to loop it back. It's like, oh yeah, like, whoa, this is to really make sure you do it and you're gonna get it done next time. And then you're like, then you come out. We were talking about this. They'll 2-page you. Oh, sir, you've done all your time. Are you ready to go home? Cool. Oh yeah, we
Let's
actually
just check, see if you got any warrants really
real
fast.
quick, and we'll transport you to the other jail, and we'll call them and see if they want you real quick. And then, how do I take care of this if I'm gonna go over there and they need me tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in there? And then they're gonna cancel that appointment and say I've been negligent, and then I issue another warrant for me,
Wow.
and then they'll bring it back.
Wow.
Happens in Arizona all day, every day.
That's nuts. But
2-page, get 2-page. You'll all of a sudden you'll be like walking out free, and they'll just grab you right back and you pull you back in.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Happens
That's crazy.
every day.
I had no idea.
Every day. Happens every
See,
day, 24/7.
And it's those kinds of systems that people aren't exposed to, and that they don't know. And
people won't believe me. They don't believe me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because they don't know, because they never learned about it,
Yeah.
because they don't have family or people like you guys telling me that, it would be ridiculous for me to be like, that doesn't happen. Like, you guys just gave me an example of it happening and it making sense. So it's like, okay, I'm sure if I go on my Google and I research this, everything that you guys just told me is going to check out. And now I know that exists. So when it's just, I wish that we as Americans understood how the system loops together. It's very intricate.
Yeah.
And
Gray.
there's
It's very
small
gray.
there's small loops and there's big loops and there's loops that loop-de-loop
Yeah.
and there's things that kind of intertwine with
Yeah.
one another as it goes through, and it just keeps you in this circle. And now when the internet was kind of breaking us out, they figured out a way to be like, nah, we got to bring them back into this
Yep.
loop.
Yeah.
How do we do that? These algorithms,
Yeah.
these different things. Let's only give them what
A portion of what they need to see, and then we'll kind of keep the rest to ourselves.
Yeah, but we'll let them do it, because if they like this, then obviously they just want more of this.
Yeah. We'll
And
keep
it's
doing
like-
that one thing and just push that at them.
And now
Like
we
guinea
create our own
pigs.
loops.
Yeah.
We've created our own loops. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Like we don't even have to
try.
Nope. We don't even have to try.
Yeah.
And that's why America doesn't hide the truth anymore.
Yeah.
Like they'll just show it to you.
Yeah.
And it's better to have us argue amongst ourselves about whether it's true or not than to spend the resources and the time trying to hide it.
Yeah.
So they're just like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, pedophilia, yeah. It happens.
Happens.
Aliens? Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it
happens.
happens.
Yeah, all this other stuff. They're just,
You guys
just throw
remember
it
the
out
show
there.
Scared Straight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, that show's not real.
It's not?
No, not a chance. That's not how jail is.
Mm.
When you walk into jail, it's not.
Oh, not
Oh
just
yeah,
like-
With the like the
kids?
army dude would just like come over, or the warden or
Yeah,
whatever, and just
yeah.
like yell at them and like,
Yeah, that's not how it
Nah.
works. They don't talk to anybody. They don't want to deal with you
People in
whatsoever.
jail are cool, dude. Well, not everybody, obviously, but
Some people are
like a lot of
little
people are just like, yeah, man, this sucks.
yeah,
I want to go home.
more- yeah.
yeah. I mean, because like it, and the thing is that you have people who work at the jails who they're not trying to really be around either. Like they're part of the community now, where they're just like, all right,
Well, the
well,
shitty thing is you can become a guard they'll like try and influence people if they like notice that like you have some sense of like decency still in you, and they're like they'll nudge that in a negative direction. Like, yeah, you want to become a guard because you can go to jail and still become a guard.
Mhm. Wow.
So they'll like try to nudge you in that direction to come on the
Mhm.
other opposite side of the spectrum and be like, yeah, I'll be a guard. And then they're miserable for the rest of life because they're in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
If you're in that atmosphere, that negative, even cops and firefighters, they
Yeah.
live technically
In a negative.
they live in a very negative atmosphere and their lives are actually lessened because of it. Most people who have
100%.
been police officers, firefighters, or lived or done some extreme thing like that where they've seen dead bodies, a lot of psychological things happen.
Mhm.
Their lives are shortened. They
Mhm.
don't have as much longevity because
Mhm.
of those things. Their body takes a toll, your mind,
Mhm.
stress and all
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah, 100%. It's not easy. It is not easy, and I think that that's like where a lot of the people who are for police and for, law
that's
enforcement,
what
that like they're sacrificing their life, they're doing all this. Like, that's understood.
yeah.
However, don't make it seem like that they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that. They can be a teacher.
Yeah. Well, and also on the other
And
side of it, my uncle Rudy said this one thing one time. He's like, it doesn't matter. You can't be a good cop if you know about the bad thing that happened that the other cop did.
Yep.
You're already by association the bad cop.
Yep. There is, yeah, it's not a
Just
few
like if
bad
you're
apples.
a person, if me and you knew that Mike did something real sketchy that was super illegal,
Mm-hmm.
we
Association, yeah.
association would be guilty.
Yeah.
So like that's the same thing where it's like you're still
Yeah, if you aren't checking your friends,
yeah.
let's keep it real. A lot of men are out here doing stuff with women that they're not supposed to do.
Mhm.
And if you have a friend who's out here, abusing women or talking out
Women
their
do
ass
a
doing
certain
something crazy,
way, yeah.
or treating women a certain way, and you don't call them out on that,
You're doing
bro,
a disservice to yourself and them.
you're complicit.
Yep.
You're complicit. You have to check that, and you have to distance yourself from that if that's what's going on, or if it
Mhm.
can't be controlled, and you have to, there's no more just like, oh, well, it's them, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's like, again, it's avoiding responsibility,
Taking responsibility what's around you
and that's what is required for us to live in harmony.
as people.
It's a responsibility. I'm sorry.
You're a human being and you live here, so you have to have some sort of
You got to do your part. You
Yeah.
got to think about it. You got to, measure what you can do. And some of it will be fair, some of it will be unfair, but ultimately it'll be for the greater good. And people have gotten away from taking responsibility for what they're doing. And they're in this me,
Yep.
only me. And instead of we,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. If my friend is being harmful to women, it affects me. Like, he can be harmful to the woman that could potentially be my wife.
Yep.
And not to say
'Cause he's
that in
hanging
a
around-
sense,
you're hanging around
not
with
to
him.
say that in a sense of like, oh, I'm about to take his girl or anything like that, but just
like,
in
friend groups,
in
those
friend-
social
exactly.
situations,
Exactly.
you never know,
Absolutely.
like where opportunity. I shouldn't say opportunity, but where that connection
where a
could happen.
relationship or a connection could
Yeah.
happen, or an experience, and
Yeah.
it's like you're being, or I won't even go that close. You're doing this to a person who has their own dreams, their own goals that they want to do, and you're preventing them.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be with someone in the circle.
Yeah.
You're preventing them from growing
Yeah.
and excelling in what they do, because you have them trapped in this situation where you're beating on them and making them not feel valuable and all these other things that they can't be valuable to someone else, to themselves, where they can have their own business or create their own thing, to their family, to all these other things. And it goes 1,000 ways.
Definitely.
But that one action deters all of them. So it's
Mhm.
like, that's what we do is in America, is that like there's 1,000 ways that something positive can happen, and 1 or 2 ways that it can be negative, and we end up choosing one of those 2 ways, and we don't acknowledge that when that's happening, that's wrong,
Yeah.
and we're gonna suffer the consequences for that, as Americans. So
We'll get there. We're getting there. I think as just a human race, hopefully, we're
trying to do my part.
we're
Man.
growing. You are, dude, through your music and everything. You've expressed it fully throughout this whole pod, dude. What your vision is and what your message that you put through your music. I respect anybody that can actually do that. Jealous even, because I would love to be. I'm getting there to where I want that confidence to maybe even hop on the mic and, you know, get my voice out there.
Mhm.
So, and I hope
Yeah.
that anybody out there that's listening or watching this gets that confidence. Hop on the mic,
Yes.
get your emotions out there. You know,
It's
get
easier
what
than
you want.
ever. You don't have to necessarily be an artist, you know, full time. Like we have the equipment. You can cut an album right now, Luke, and not cut another one for the rest of your life, but
Yeah.
you have one that's out that
Yeah.
has a message that lasts,
Yeah,
you know, beyond you.
true.
And that can happen. You know, there are plenty of people, because that's a good part of technology, is that we have access.
Yeah.
So we can make these things. You can write a book. I can write a book.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of us should,
Yeah.
because if we're so opinionated,
Yeah.
might as well write some literature
Yeah.
and really flesh it out.
Yeah.
Like let's
Get it out there.
let's respect ourselves to take the time to get our message out there, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and it's just an investment, and you're doing it right now. You know, this podcast is
Yeah.
great. You know, and
Thank you, man.
you know,
Appreciate that.
you having me on here is assisting the overall message of positivity and what you're trying to accomplish,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well as what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts, man.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
Plug
I
your
appreciate
Instagram.
you. Yeah. Where can they find you at?
Oh, I got on Instagram early, so I'm just at Thascool.
Hey, there you go.
Thascool. You can find me there. I'm Noreik Thascool on all your streaming services, Apple, Spotify,
He's on a Taco
Amazon.
Bell commercial too, people.
Yeah, you can probably see me on Taco Bell commercial. I don't know if it'll still be airing when this comes out. It might, but I'm the guy sitting in the window.
Windowsill, all
in the
majestic
windowsill.
with his burrito. I'm just like, dude, this is so good.
Super majestic. No, it's just great to be able to expand into other mediums aside from
to
music.
test
You
your
know,
boundaries, you know, and
oh
challenge
yeah,
yourself.
you know, like movies have always been something special to me. I have a movie and music podcast called Sound Flick,
Yeah.
with my guys Skywalker
Check
Mike
it out, guys. It's really good.
and A Sincere, Young
Yeah.
Flacco, and it's a great time. We do it here at Productive
Yeah.
Culture, and yeah, I hope to get into TV. I hope to get into
So
movies. and
I've always wanted
commercials
to
and-
too. It's always
Yeah.
been like a fun thing to kind of like think about and like, oh, dude, I would love to just be a character.
Yeah, it'd
you
be
know?
amazing.
Yeah,
It'd be
it'd be
amazing.
fun.
You know, so you know, it's a blessing to be able to do that and to be shown, and I'm
yeah.
gonna just continue to work on it. You know, so
Always working,
Um,
always grinding.
always. But that's where you guys can find me. You know, make sure to follow Productive Culture. Make sure to follow at
Yes.
That's Cool. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. All of it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let's hold
Yeah,
hands on
guys.
the internet.
A quick shout out to Productive Culture for letting us have the space here. If you ever want to do your own podcast or anything like that, go ahead and type in that productiveculture.com/podcast
Mhm.
and they'll hook you up with your first episode, gives you a little discount. And if you want to do any mixing, you want us to master your stuff, you want to record, we also do that too. We do a little bit of everything here. You know, we're always expanding our opportunities at Productive Culture. And also with Balanced Mind Entertainment, always collaborate and elevate, y'all. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Tired of depressing shit. I know you still upset, and the force of your scorn is something I regret but gotta reckon with. I feel I'm on the ledge with no leverage. I'm riding in the car, thinking hard, trying to find out exactly where we are. Yeah, the thought alone is tearing me apart. I don't wanna be a part, but here we are. Think I'm at a loss, cause you the one I call when I'm at a loss. Yeah, I need to find out where we really are. Win, lose or draw.